Chapter 2694. The weather was already very cold, and after they entered the tomb, a gust of cold air hit them in the face. The inside of the tomb was even more eerie. Xiaoka took out a searchlight and shone it on the path in front of them. Skybolt Pig had lived here for hundreds and thousands of years, and he was very familiar with the environment here. With Skybolt Pig leading the way, they didn't have to worry about any danger. In fact, when Linny went back from here last time, he didn't encounter any danger. Although there were hidden weapons on this path, they were all attracted by the rain and sparks. These were all one-time use mechanisms, and they wouldn't have any effect after being used. So very quickly, the three of them arrived at the life and death door. Although the inside of the tomb was eerie, it was smooth. Boss Bai was very excited. He knew that it was Linny and Xiaoka's second time here, but he didn't expect it to be this smooth. Now where should we go? Boss Bai asked excitedly. This is the death door. It's where Zhang Liju's coffin was, and it's also where Skybolt Pig used to live. There's nothing inside, but this is where Zhang Liju used to store his belongings. My fushi needles and qi gathering pellets were all found here. Linny said. Let's go find the stuff first, and then pay our respects to Master Zhang. What do you think? Alright, I'll listen to you. Boss Bai wanted to pay his respects to Master Zhang first, but he knew that Linny was worried about his constitution, and so he wanted to find the book on constitution first. In terms of seniority, Linny was Zhang Liju's disciple, and Boss Bai was a disciple of many generations. Although Linny respected him as his master, Boss Bai didn't dare to ask too much of Linny. Then let's go and have a look, Linny said as he walked forward with Boss Bai to the bookshelf they had been to before. He then said to Boss Bai, Master Bai, take a look and see if there's anything on it. Linny took a quick glance at the bookshelf and didn't see Zhang Liju's medical notes, but he didn't know if there was a record of Zhang Liju's strange happenings. Linny didn't have any recollection of such a book. Boss Bai nodded and searched carefully on the bookshelf. From the beginning to the end, he did not let go of the titles on the spines of every book. There weren't many books on it. It wouldn't take Boss Bai much time to read them from the beginning to the end. After reading them, Boss Bai shook his head and said, No? Oh, then let's go to the showroom again. Linny didn't have much hope. He just wanted to start from the beginning. Just as they were about to leave, Xiaoka exclaimed, What's wrong? Xiaoka? Linny turned around and looked at Xiaoka. Someone touched this bookshelf. Xiaoka pointed at one of the books at the bottom of the shelf. He said, What? Someone touched it? Linny felt a chill run down his spine. Although Linny was a practitioner and wasn't afraid of ghosts, he couldn't say that it didn't exist. However, it couldn't be said that this thing didn't exist. Otherwise, where did the damn thing in the jade come from? Yes, Xiaoka said solemnly. This bookshelf probably hasn't been touched for thousands of years, so there's a layer of dust on the spines. But look below this book. Linny and Boss Bai bent down at the same time. They looked at the book Xiaoka was pointing at, and as expected, on the empty wooden shelf in front of the book, there was a mark of someone moving it. There was a mark of someone moving it. Because there was a layer of dust everywhere. Only the front of this book had a vertical groove. Someone must have pulled out the dust from the front of this web page recently and removed it. Seeing this, Boss Bai didn't feel anything, but Linny felt a chill run down his spine. This tomb. Did someone else come here? When they first came here, no matter if it was Xiaoka, Old He, or Yu Huaxing, none of them touched the books. Yu Huaxing checked the names on the books carefully, but didn't touch them. Linny remembered this clearly, but now there was a book here that had been moved. From the marks, this book had been put back no more than 3 months ago. This could be seen from the markings on it, so it couldn't be from the last time they came. The only explanation was that someone else came in, took this book, and put it back. But what was the purpose of doing this? Xiaoka's breathing quickened as well. The few people who knew about this were all captured and sentenced to death. She and the male thief definitely didn't come back. Could it be Yu Huaxing or the female thief? Linny thought of Yu Huaxing as well, but this person was as cowardly as a mouse. There was no reason for him to come back alone. Plus, everything was taken last time, so what was the point of him coming back? Plus, Linny heard that Yu Huaxing was under house arrest by the hidden house Yu. Even if he wanted to come out, there was no chance. Whatever. Let's see what this book is first, Linny said. Xiaoka took the book out, and Linny kept an eye on the jade. Luckily, there was no movement, which meant that there was no danger. Linny was most afraid that this book was a trap set up by someone else to lure people in. This was a book written by a wandering doctor. But when Linny flipped to the first page, he realized that something was different. This book was indeed a record of strange stories of wandering doctors, but the empty space in the book was filled with handwriting, all of it in tiny handwriting. It was the same handwriting as the one in Zhang Liju's elixir refiner's notes. Evidently, this was written by Zhang Liju as well. This is it, this is the record of strange tales of the patriarch. Boss looked at the book in Linny's hands excitedly and pointed at the words on it. Master Zhang added on to someone else's records of strange happenings, giving his own unique insights, and the problem of a refiner's physique was mentioned in this records of strange happenings at the very beginning. It's normal for Master Zhang Liju to add to it after reading it. Chapter 2695. If this watchnet was taken away, then this time, even if they turned the tomb upside down, they would not be able to find what they wanted. Let me see the problem about your physique now. While talking, Boss Bai did not waste any time. He took out the flashlight and carefully read the content of the Chronicle of Peculiar Tales. Linny and Yuxiaoka did not dare to disturb him. They quietly waited on the side, waiting for Boss Bai's result. Time passed very slowly at this time. Although Linny only waited for half an hour, it felt like half a day. Finally, Boss Bai put down the book, nodded heavily, and said to Linny, in this note, the Grand Master explained the problem about the physique of a cultivator in detail, and gave the way to verify it. Oh, what do you mean? Linny asked quickly. The physique of a cultivator is divided into 3 types: true attribute, false attribute, and false attribute. The true attribute is an inborn attribute. No matter how many attributes there are in the body, they can be well integrated and circulated. This is inborn, so there will not be any conflict between each attribute. Even if there is a conflict, it will also form a cycle in the body, and will not bring any trouble to the cultivator. Boss Bai said, true attribute, false attribute, false attribute? Linny pondered for a while and thought of Bingtang's false ice heart jade bone physique, so he hurriedly told this to Boss Bai. Is this the false attribute mentioned in the book? Yes, this is the false attribute. Boss Bai nodded and said, this attribute is also inborn. It exists in the body of a cultivator when he is born. However, before this attribute is activated, it will not cause any impact or conflict with the real attribute in the body. When it is activated, it can be activated with the corresponding elixir. For example, the Ice Heart Jade Bone elixir can be used to activate this branch of the water attribute, which is the ice attribute. After activation, the false attribute is no different from the real attribute. If the cultivator has other attributes in the body, there will not be any conflict, and these attributes will form a new cycle. I see. What about the false attribute? Linny suddenly understood. No wonder the Ice Heart Jade Bone pill was so important to Bingtang. It turned out that it could change the physique, turning the fake Ice Heart Jade Bone physique into the real Ice Heart Jade Bone physique. The so-called virtual attribute is that the cultivator's body doesn't have this attribute in the beginning, but through the consumption of the corresponding elixir or the cultivation of some special mental cultivation method, the attribute produced in the body is called virtual attribute. Boss Bai said, for example, a person with the wood attribute will have the fire attribute after taking a scorching fire pill, and he can become an alchemist, as long as there are no more than 3 attributes in his body. There would be no mutual restraint and there would be no cycle. The illusory attribute and the true attribute can coexist. Oh? In other words, the attributes in my body are all virtual attributes? Linny was stunned. But I haven't taken any elixirs that can change my physique, right? I'm not sure about that. But it says that the attributes inside the body can be tested through a treasure to see if they are real, false, or virtual. Boss Bai said, however, it seems that the attributes inside the body are not real. There's no doubt that your body has the phantom attribute. Linny nodded. Could it be that his phantom attribute was increased by the art of dragon mastery? This was the only way to explain it. He hadn't taken any elixir that could change his physique. As for the mental cultivation method, there was only this one, so it seemed to be the case. Is there any mention of the solution to the phantom attribute? Linny asked. There is, but there's no mention of the method. It's only mentioned a little. The specifics are all left in the sex library. Boss Bai said with some regret. The 5 Elements sex library? Linny listened to Boss Bai's words and asked with a slight sigh. That's right. But with my current identity, there's no way to go back and check. Boss Bai said apologetically. I understand that. Linny nodded. If Boss Bai went back, it was likely that he couldn't come back alive. So Linny couldn't let him take the risk. What about the solution? Accept the inheritance. Boss Bai said. Under special circumstances, the phantom attribute can accept the inheritance. Whichever attribute in the cultivator's body is the phantom attribute, he can go to the origin of this attribute and stimulate it. If he can stimulate the origin of this attribute, he can receive the inheritance and directly upgrade the phantom attribute in the body to the real attribute. Oh, that means I have to accept the inheritance like rock candy? Linny asked with some surprise. Yes, but their inheritance means that they have the real attribute or the pseudo-attribute. They don't need to upgrade their attribute. They can directly accept the inheritance and obtain the origin power. But you are different. You need to use a special method, similar to a formation, to stimulate the origin of the attribute in the origin of the attribute, so as to change and upgrade the attribute of your physique. Boss Bai explained. It's just that I don't have this method in the 5 Elements sex library. There's also no specific mention in this record of strange stories. Phew. Linny let out a long sigh. He came to the ancient tomb with a heart full of joy, but in the end, he found out the problem of the physique. In the 5 Elements sect, it was impossible for Linny to obtain the method to change the physique. Don't be too disappointed. With the speed of your strength growth, the day when we return to the 5 Elements sect may not be too far away. Boss Bai patted Lin Yi's shoulder and comforted him. Well, I understand. Linny nodded. He wouldn't be able to concoct pills without Boss Bai's news, and he wouldn't be able to change his body's constitution, but it was still hard to accept the fact that hope was dashed. According to Mr. Bai, as long as I find this method, I can definitely successfully change the physique? Linny asked. That's not necessarily the case. Changing one's physique is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Even if 2 people with virtual attributes stand together to accept the legacy, one of them might fail, or both of them might fail. Boss Bai said. Can both of them succeed? Linny asked. Chapter 2696. Boss Bai shook his head and explained. But the power of origin is different. Any practitioner with the right body type can accept the inheritance and become an inheritor. There's no limit to that. One is the comprehension of the power, the other is the activation of the body type's original element. There's a fundamental difference between the two. The first is personal comprehension. It won't give you anything all of a sudden, but it'll make your training smoother in the future. The other is obtaining the original elemental. I see. Linny, on the other hand, felt relieved. This trip wasn't a waste. At least he knew something about the inheritors. In other words, even if Xiao Xiao accepted the inheritance, as long as she didn't do that dangerous thing, she'd only get the benefit of increasing her training speed. There wouldn't be any downsides. So, after Xiao Xiao accepted the inheritance, Bingtang could accept it as well. As long as Linny could change her body type, she could replace Xiao Xiao. With that thought, Linny made up his mind. He needed to train hard and reach Sky Class as soon as possible, and then continue to increase Boss Bai, Han Jingjing, and Guan Xian's strength. Chapter Dan, he could ask the 3 of them to help him concoct pills. Although Linny wouldn't be able to become an alchemist and wouldn't be able to satisfy Bingtang's requirements to be his little wife, Linny didn't really care. He wanted to make Bingtang a little wife. He just wanted to take her down a notch. He wasn't used to her cold and arrogant attitude towards him, but compared to Xiao Xiao's safety, Xiao Xiao was more important. According to this book, this treasure that can identify a practitioner's body type is in the last stone door. Let's go take a look. Boss Bai said, but he reminded. Here Zhang Liju also hinted to us that there's a poisonous mist in the last stone door, and those who get hit will lose their vision. But there's an antidote here. As long as it's someone who knows medicine, they can do it. Oh, Linny paused, remembering Yu Huashing back then. It seemed that Zhang Liju had guessed that people would come to this tomb in the future, but these things were left for doctors or refiners. It was left for doctors or alchemists of the same profession. Towards a simple grave robber like Yu Huixing, there was no mercy. If this person had checked the internet records, then they would definitely be on the same path and naturally wouldn't fall for it. Even if the person in the tunnel didn't check, he would be able to detoxify the poison on his own. The tragic ones were people like Yu Huixing. But what puzzled Lin Yi was that this book had been flipped by someone. Could it be that the people who came to Ancient Tomb knew that this book would hint at the mechanism of the last stone door, so they checked it? Since he already knew about this mechanism, why did he still want to check it out? Could it be that he was here to check the antidote formula? These doubts made Lin Yi feel baffled. I can't figure it out. However, if that was the case, the grave robber must have been to the last stone door. Let's go and take a look. Lin Yi took a deep breath. He hoped that the treasure he needed wasn't stolen by this grave robber. Otherwise, it would be a wasted trip. The three of them walked towards the last stone door. They didn't go to the exhibition room but instead came to the stone door. Lin Yi placed his hand on the stone door, not pushing it open immediately. He was waiting for the jade to give him a warning signal. School Beauty's personal expert. Chapter 2707. Lost. The item was lost. Lin Yi couldn't be sure if this grave robber had set up any new mechanisms, or if this person was still in the tomb. What made Lin Yi relieved was that the jade didn't give off any warning signals. Lin Yi relaxed a little as he pushed the door open. But Lin Yi thought of something. Right, Zhang Liju's medical notes said that he didn't have any children, nor did he have any disciples. What's with the 5 Elements sect then? Oh, that's normal, Boss Bai said. In the 5 Elements sect now, only me and Xianxin have disciples. Xuanzhen doesn't have any, but after 1,000 years, the disciples of the 5 Elements sect will call him their ancestor. It's normal. Having no disciples just means that he doesn't have a disciple, but it doesn't mean that he doesn't have disciples from the same sect. I see. Lin Yi nodded. Mr. Bai, take a look. Which one of these is a treasure used to test one's constitution? The white boss looked around the room, and the School Beauty's personal expert, Xiaoke, was also carefully looking at the items in the room. Before the white boss could say anything, Xiaoke spoke up first. Male thief, someone was here too. Oh. Lin Yi wasn't too surprised. With the precedent of the records of strange events being taken out, it was normal that the items here had been touched. What Lin Yi was worried about was whether or not the item he was looking for had been taken away. Here it's been touched. Xiaoke had a good memory, and she was good at observing. She pointed at a shelf in front of Zhang Liju's bed. Here there used to be something like an incense burner, but it's been taken away. Look, there are traces of it being taken away. Oh, incense burner? Lin Yi and Boss Bai looked at where Xiaoke was pointing. Indeed, on the shelf there was a circular mark. There was no dust on it, but around the original shape there was a lot of dust. This proved that there used to be something here, but now it was taken away. And the things in this room didn't seem to have been touched. Other than the 2 books that you took, no one else took anything else, Xiaoke said after some thought. Lin Yi nodded. That was indeed the case. Old He had taken a lot of things from the showroom, and he didn't take anything here. Yu Huixing came with a purpose, so naturally he didn't take anything. Xiaoke wouldn't have taken anything either, or she wouldn't have said that. Ling Shan and Yutian wouldn't have touched anything either. It seemed that the item Xiaoke was talking about had been taken away by someone else. Lin Yi frowned. Incense burner. Suddenly Lin Yi thought of something. There was indeed something like an incense burner here, but it wasn't an incense burner. It was a cauldron. Lin Yi didn't think about becoming a refiner back then, so he didn't pay much attention to this cauldron. Otherwise, Lin Yi would have taken it away without a doubt. At that thought, Lin Yi was filled with regret. Lin Yi suddenly remembered something very important. Chapter 2697. Back then, Lin Yi had felt a sense of familiarity, as if he had seen it somewhere before, but he couldn't remember where. Now that Xiaoke reminded him, he suddenly remembered that the cauldron Yu Coiling Tiger brought back was very similar to the one Lin Yi saw in Zhang Liju's tomb. As for why it was similar and not exactly the same, it was because Lin Yi's memory was a bit blurry, and he couldn't remember what the cauldron looked like exactly. However, no matter what, Lin Yi understood that he had missed out on a great thing. This cauldron was definitely a great thing, but it was taken away. Shaking his head, Lin Yi put the cauldron aside for now and turned to Xiaoke. Other than that cauldron, was there anything else taken away? I didn't find anything. Xiaoka shook her head. At this time Boss Bai exclaimed, I found it, the treasure is at the bottom of this shelf. Linny and Xiaoka looked at the direction Boss Bai was pointing at. It was a big round bead and it looked gray. It didn't look like anything good at all. Even if someone came to rob a tomb, they would probably ignore this stone-like thing. This, how do I use it? Linny looked at the big bead in front of him and asked. It's actually very simple. You just need to put your hand on it and chant the mantra. Boss Bai said. According to the colors that the bead shows, I can determine your constitution. Oh, okay. Linny nodded and placed his hand on top of the bead, channeling the art of dragon mastery. In an instant, the gray bead changed into a different shape. On the surface of the bead, there were 7 different colors. However, each of the colors was not particularly bright, and the center of each color was hollow. Boss Bai saw the colors on the bead, and his face was full of surprise and excitement. He didn't say anything for a while, and only after a while did he say, It's the 5 elements and 7 constitutions, but each of them is fake. In your body, there isn't a real or fake one. Oh, 5 elements and 7 elements constitution? Are they all imaginary? What kind of physique is that? Linny was stunned. He was also shocked by Boss Bai's words. He actually had the so-called 5 elements and 7 elements physique, but they were all fake and not a single one of them was real? That's right. According to the records, if each attribute is a color, then this 5-element ball can display a total of 7 colors, representing the metal, wood, water, fire, earth, and the ice and fog attributes derived from the water element. Boss Bai explained, if it's a completely solid bright strip, it represents the true attribute. If it's a half-solid strip, it represents the false attribute. But a hollow, dim strip like this one represents the false attribute. The 5 elements and 7 constitutions means that your body has the attributes of the 5 elements at the same time, but you also have the 3 constitutions of water, ice, and mist. There are 7 constitutions altogether, so it's called the 5 elements and 7 constitutions. After listening to Boss Bai's words, Lin Yi's eyes widened, but he was a little speechless. His physique was really awesome. Of course, if it was the real 5 elements and 7 constitutions, then it would probably be rare in the world. But he just happened to have the false attribute. The 5 elements could not form a cycle, and it became a situation where they restrained each other, making it impossible for him to become an alchemist. Then this kind of physique, what's going on? Linny was stunned for a long time before he hurriedly asked. You don't have any real attribute in your body. According to what the cultivation world usually says, you're a cultivation loser. Even if you can cultivate, it's absolutely impossible for you to cultivate to a high level. Although you can create the false attribute, the cultivation speed of the false attribute is obviously slower than that of the real attribute and the false attribute. Boss Bai said. But you just happen to have so many false attributes, and your cultivation speed is not slow either. It's really strange. Linny couldn't help but smile bitterly. He knew himself best. His cultivation speed was fast? It seemed to be quite fast, but without the space of the jade pendant, without Wang Xinyan, would his cultivation speed still be fast? The answer was obviously no, because if Linny didn't have these advantages, he would still be a lone cultivator, and would probably be left behind by other cultivators a long time ago. However, even if you accept the inheritance of the original attribute, it's still very troublesome, because you need to go to 5 attributes and 7 origins to accept the inheritance. It's really too troublesome. Boss Bai said a little helplessly. In other words, there's no other way for now? Linny asked. For now, that's it. Boss Bai spread his hands and smiled bitterly. Well, if that's the case, then I can't force anything. Linny didn't dwell on it too much. It was already good enough that he could figure out the problem of his constitution. As for turning his constitution into real attributes, Linny didn't think it was realistic for now. By the way, you just said that an incense burner is missing here? Boss Bai looked at the place where something was missing and asked. Yes, it's a medicine cauldron. It was still here when I left, but it's gone this time. Obviously, it was taken away by someone who touched the record of extraordinary stories. Linny said. Oh, a medicine cauldron? Boss Bai was slightly dazed and then asked, What medicine cauldron? What does it look like? The medicine cauldron here must be something good, but it was taken away by someone. Boss Bai was very regretful. If he came earlier it wouldn't be like this, right? This medicine cauldron is like this. Right, Coiling Tiger used to exchange some things with me with a broken one. That broken medicine cauldron should be very similar to this one. I have a picture of the broken medicine cauldron here. As he spoke, Linny took out his phone and showed a picture to Boss Bai. What? Shenong cauldron? Boss Bai looked at the picture of the medicine cauldron in Linny's hand and widened his eyes in surprise. What Shenong cauldron? Linny was stunned and thought, is it really something good? Chapter 2698. Boss Bai explained to Linny in detail. Shenong used this cauldron to make hundreds of elixirs and medicines, and because of the 1,000 years of accumulation of elixir qi, it was said to be able to make unparalleled elixirs. The real one has been lost for a long time, but our sect's founder Zhang Liju had a replica Shenong cauldron. Although it wasn't as powerful as the real one, it had been passed down by many elixir masters, and it was quite powerful. It was said that it could even make mystic level 1 elixirs. What? It's that powerful? Linny heard Boss Bai's words and regretted it. Linny didn't know what it was and he didn't know how precious it was, so he just ignored it. But now Linny realized that he had missed a huge opportunity. Linny even tried so hard to find a 3rd level cauldron, but he didn't know that there was at least a mystic level 1 Shenong cauldron replica right in front of him, and he couldn't grab it. Yeah, what a shame, what a shame. Boss Bai didn't really care about the picture in Linny's hand. After all, the cauldron was already broken to this extent, and there was no way to fix it. Even if it was the real one, so what? What he cared about was the replica that Zhang Liju had used before, and he missed it. Whatever, it's fine if we lose it. Maybe this cauldron doesn't belong to us, and it's already good enough that we have it now. Linny was quite optimistic. That's true, I was a bit greedy. Boss Bai nodded. Since this is the tomb of the founder, then everything is arranged by him. We can't force it. Is there anything else we can take away? Linny looked around the room and asked. Nope, including this bead for the test. Leave it here as well. It's useless to take it back. Boss Bai put the bead back to where it was before. Let's go pay our respects to Master Zhang Liju now. Okay. Linny nodded and patted Skybolt Pig's head. Skybolt Pig, let's go pay our respects to Master Zhang Liju. Is there a problem? Last time when Linny came to the tomb, he didn't go to the main chamber to disturb Zhang Liju's soul, but his identity was different this time. Naturally, he had to follow by Boss to pay his respects, and it was inevitable that he would disturb the owner of this chamber. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig nodded and brought Linny, Boss Bai, and Xiaoka out of the stone room, heading towards the main tomb. He arrived at the entrance of the main burial chamber. Just as Linny was about to stop them from entering, the Skybolt Pig had already warned them. It stood at the entrance of the main burial chamber and shook its head. It squeaked, indicating that no one should enter. Other than the white boss, who was slightly stunned, Linny and Xiaoka both understood that there must be some kind of mechanism in the main tomb, which was why the pig acted like this. After Skybolt Pig opened the mechanism of the stone door, he entered the main burial chamber first. Sure enough, it was familiar with the route. It touched a few parts that weren't too noticeable before returning to the entrance of the main burial chamber, and nodded to everyone. GG. Alright, we can go in now. There was a mechanism in this chamber, and Skybolt Pig closed it, Linny explained to the white boss. Oh, I see. The white boss didn't encounter any traps or dangers along the way, and he wasn't a professional grave robber. He didn't know much about these things, and after Linny's words he realized and nodded. The three entered the main burial chamber together, and the stone door behind them closed. This was a very simple main burial chamber. In the corner of one of the walls of the main burial chamber, there was a huge coffin. Near the coffin there was nothing else. It was so barren that it seemed a little out of place. However, on the stone wall of the main burial chamber, there were a lot of words written. Linny glanced at them briefly, and it was about Zhang Liju's life experiences. Linny and Boss Bai stood together respectfully in front of the coffin, paying their respects to Zhang Liju's grandmaster. Boss Bai was a little emotional. Although there was a ranking of the grandmasters in 5 Elements sect, standing in front of the coffin of Zhang Liju, the most famous elixir refiner in history, Boss Bai couldn't help but feel emotional. A sense of pride that had been suppressed for many years rose from the bottom of his heart. In the past, the white boss thought that he was useless, and that he would live the rest of his life aimlessly. At that time, his only goal in life was to find a wood elemental inheritor for the Five Elements sect, and teach him everything he had learned in his life. As for Xuanzhen's plot and usurpation, the white boss was really helpless, and he couldn't help the Five Elements sect. If he wanted the Five Elements sect to flourish, the only way was to cooperate with Xianchun and help the evildoer. However, after meeting Lin Yi, the white boss suddenly realized that his future was bright, and returning to the Five Elements sect, and even regaining control of the Five Elements sect wasn't a difficult thing. All of this was like the guidance of Zhang Liju, sending Lin Yi to him, giving him hope. The white boss swore in his heart that he wouldn't disappoint Zhang Liju's hope. One day he would revive the Five Elements sect, and let it return to the glory of thousands of years ago. Fu. The white boss let out a long breath and said, "Let's take a look at Zhang Liju's life experiences and leave. This time it's over." "All right." Lin Yi nodded solemnly. This trip to the tomb was different from last time. Lin Yi had officially joined the Five Elements sect, and had become a part of it. Standing in front of Zhang Liju's coffin, his mood was naturally different. Lin Yi quietly picked up the pig and looked at the wall with him. The introduction of Zhang Liju's life experiences. This little guy could read, and Lin Yi planned to let him read it as well to recall the past. "You guys read it, I'll just look around here and see if there's anything good." Xiaoke wasn't very interested in Zhang Liju's life experiences. Lin Yi nodded and didn't say anything else. He started reading the words on the wall with the white boss. Zhang Liju's life was dedicated to the study of medicine and elixir refinement. There were countless recipes and elixirs that had been improved by him, and it wasn't uncommon to see lost ancient elixirs reappearing in his hands. Chapter 2699. Good, very good. Lin Yi's eyes turned cold as he looked at the young guard. "What? You don't like it? It's useless even if you don't like it." The guard curled his lips and said mockingly, "An Earth-class mid-phase peak? Don't you know what your name is? Don't you know what kind of place this is? Is this a place for you bunch of idiots to mess around? You're used to doing whatever you want outside, and you still dare to act tough in front of me? Boss, why don't we?" Han Xiaopa took a deep breath, suppressing the anger in his heart. He was the young master of a hidden house, after all. Although the hidden house used to be the last-ranked hidden house, ever since the Hidden House Summit, their name had shaken the world. Everyone knew that his hidden house had Lin Yi's backing. However, Han Xiaopa knew that Lin Yi wanted to trade here, and he couldn't afford to offend the guards just yet. He couldn't just not go to the market, could he? Han Xiaopa's words clearly showed that he was giving in, and the others could see that he was prepared to give some gifts. Of course, the others were a bit confused as well. They didn't know what these two guards were thinking, suddenly giving an Earth class a hard time. This made the Earth classes behind Lin Yi and Han Xiaopa a little uneasy. Would it be their turn to be in trouble? Lin Yi nodded, and the two guards saw Lin Yi nod, and the disdain on their faces deepened. They thought that Lin Yi had agreed with Han Xiaopa, and that he was giving them some gifts. Of course, there was a condition to this, and their goal was the blue crystal in Lin Yi's hand. The skinny guy had already told them about what had happened, and this was also the reason why these two guards were giving Lin Yi a hard time. They were determined to get the blue crystal, and not only did they want to take it back, but they also wanted to humiliate Lin Yi's group. They wanted to show him who was in charge of this place. Trying to show off in front of the association? Did they still want to come here to trade in the future? However, Lin Yi's giving in was reasonable to them. After all, they were here to make money. Who would dare to openly offend them? Xiaopa, you're right. Some people don't want face, so we'll beat them until they give in. As Lin Yi spoke, he suddenly made a move and slapped the young guard's face, making a crisp sound. Lin Yi's slap was very sudden. The young guard didn't think that Lin Yi would dare to slap him here. It was understandable that Lin Yi dared to hit the skinny guy, since Lin Yi didn't know the skinny guy's real identity. But the two guards represented the association, and they and Yi were the absolute authority here. Did Lin Yi say that, or was Lin Yi an idiot? You fucking don't want to? You little bastard, you dare hit me? The young guard covered his face, his eyes full of disbelief and anger. You fucking want to die? With that, The young guard channeled his inner force and punched towards Lin Yi. Earth-class martial technique. 9th form, sky-piercing fist. This young guard was truly enraged. He immediately used his strongest move to attack Lin Yi. His goal was to hit Lin Yi in one hit. Even if he didn't kill Lin Yi, he would at least cripple him. Although the difference between late-stage and mid-stage Earth class wasn't that big, the young guard needed to be at the peak of late-stage Earth class to use the 9th form. Humph. Lin Yi laughed coldly. He didn't dodge, but used the 5th form of the fiery 8 trigrams palm. Although Lin Yi's strongest technique was the 5th form of the fiery 8 trigrams palm, against a late-stage Earth class master, the 5th form was more than enough. It was equivalent to the 11th form of a normal sky-class martial technique. How could it not deal with him? This punch, the young guard gave it his all, not holding back at all. He used all his Zhen Qi, and his goal was to kill Lin Yi. In his eyes, Lin Yi was just a small mid-stage Earth-class master, and yet he dared to act so rashly. This wasn't just a slap to his face, it was the entire association's face, and the face of his vice president. Boom! The young guard's fist collided with Lin Yi's palm, and a huge amount of Zhen Qi burst out from the center of the collision, causing the surrounding people to be pushed back a few steps. These were all Earth-class masters, even Mystic and Golden-class masters. Normally, when had they ever seen a mid-stage Earth-class master clash head-on? The surging aura swept all these people. Although they weren't injured, they didn't feel good either. The young guard spat out a mouthful of blood, and his whole body was sent flying by Lin Yi a few meters away. He landed on the ground, motionless, and no one knew if he was dead or alive. However, looking at his arm that had been smashed into a meat patty by Lin Yi, and half of his chest was caved in, even if he was still alive, he wouldn't be far from death. Even if he was saved with a medicinal pill, he definitely wouldn't be able to recover his previous strength. Lin Yi's decisiveness shocked everyone present. Even Han Xiaopa's eyes were full of shock. Wasn't Lin Yi a little too fierce? He said he would kill and he just killed the opponent? The others, on the other hand, were trying to guess Lin Yi's background and strength. With the strength of a mid-stage Earth-class master, he completely defeated a late-stage Earth-class master, and it was decided in one move. How domineering was this? What kind of strength was this? But Yang Qiqi wasn't too surprised. Lin Yi's performance was already very domineering, and in her eyes, Lin Yi was already a big villain. Lin Yi had forcefully taken her blue crystal, and although he didn't take it directly from her hands, Yang Qiqi still saw him as the main culprit. So, it was normal for a villain like Lin Yi to kill these two people blocking the way. Second brother. The older guard let out a shrill howl as he looked at the younger one. He didn't think that Lin Yi would attack just like that, and without mercy at all. His second brother's injuries were very serious, and it was obvious that he wasn't going to make it. The older guard suddenly roared, "Little bastard, how dare you kill my second brother? I'll kill you." With that, the older guard threw a punch at Lin Yi, using the same technique as the younger guard, but with a different style. Sky-piercing fist, 10th form. Fiery 8 trigrams palm 6th form. Lin Yi faced the older guard calmly, using the 6th form of the fiery 8 trigrams palm. Chapter 2700. These ingredients were extinct, and so even with the recipe and the corresponding refiner, no one would be able to make these elixirs. Qi-gathering elixirs were one of them, but through Zhang Liju's hands, some of the extinct ingredients were replaced with existing ones, and although the effect was reduced, it was still able to achieve some of the same effects as Qi-gathering elixirs. This was also one of the miracles of Zhang Liju. Back in the day, Zhang Liju had gathered a large number of masters around him, and because of this, with Zhang Liju around, they had endless resources. However, changing the recipe wasn't a difficult thing for Lin Yi, and Lin Yi could easily do it with his abilities. But when it came to elixir, Lin Yi's body made it impossible for him to make elixirs. Lin Yi finished reading Zhang Liju's life story, and so did Boss Bai. He turned to Lin Yi. Let's go." "Okay." Lin Yi replied and called Yu Xiaoka. "Xiaoka, let's go." But when Lin Yi turned to look at Yu Xiaoka, Lin Yi was shocked to find that Yu Xiaoka was gone. Yes, Yu Xiaoka was gone. In the empty tomb, only Lin Yi, Boss Bai, and Skybolt Pig were left. Lin Yi didn't need to use the light. He could feel everything in the tomb with his eyes closed, and Yu Xiaoka was nowhere to be seen. "Yu Xiaoka!" Lin Yi exclaimed, subconsciously turning his head towards the main chamber's entrance. The stone door was still closed, not open. A chill went from Lin Yi's feet to his head. Where did Yu Xiaoke go? Could this tomb be haunted? Why did Yu Xiaoke disappear into thin air? Boss Bai's scalp went numb as well. This is... Who's behind this? Lin Yi's sharp eyes scanned every corner of the tomb, but he didn't find anything out of place. Other than a giant coffin, there was nothing else. If someone was hiding here, Lin Yi couldn't imagine where they would be hiding. But if no one was behind this, then where did Yu Xiaoke go? Could it be that the tomb robber who came to the tomb and took the Shenong cauldron didn't leave, and was hiding in this tomb, waiting for an opportunity to attack Lin Yi and the others? Lin Yi broke out in cold sweat. There were only two possibilities. One was that the robber wasn't a human, and that was the only reason why Yu Xiaoke would disappear without a trace. The other possibility was that the robber was extremely strong, perhaps a sky-class late-phase peak. Only a master like that could do something like this under Lin Yi's nose. But, even if it was a sky-class late-phase peak, there should be chi waves when they moved. Could it be a physical practitioner? The most important thing was that Lin Yi couldn't understand in this sealed tomb. Even if there was a sky class, how did Yu Xiaoke disappear? There had to be a place for her in a sky class to hide, right? Lin Yi's eyes moved around the tomb, and finally landed on Zhang Liju's coffin. Master Zhang Liju, please forgive my disrespect, Lin Yi said to himself as he walked towards the coffin. This was the only place in the tomb that could hide someone. Otherwise, the walls, ceiling, and floor of the tomb wouldn't be able to hide anyone. Only this coffin was suspicious. You're saying that Yu Xiaoke went into this coffin? Bai Boss could tell what Lin Yi was thinking, and asked with a weird expression. I don't know, but this is the only place I can think of. In the entire tomb, where else could someone hide? Lin Yi wasn't sure himself, but he could guess. That's right. That's right. You're right, saving people is more important. Bai Boss nodded to Lin Yi, indicating that he wasn't being disrespectful to the Grandmaster. After all, the dead weren't as important as the living. Even if the Grandmaster was in heaven, he wouldn't disagree. Lin Yi nodded and walked in front of the coffin, observing it attentively as he prepared to open the lid. Lin Yi raised his hand to lift the lid, but to his shock, the lid didn't move at all. Although Lin Yi didn't use his chi, it was just a coffin lie. How heavy could it be? Lin Yi didn't use his chi at all, but Lin Yi miscalculated this time. The lid didn't move at all. This time Lin Yi channeled his chi, but the lid didn't move at all. Lin Yi was surprised and increased the strength of his chi, but the lid still didn't move. Something wasn't right. Lin Yi stopped using brute force and started inspecting the coffin. He wanted to see what was so special about the lid, and why it didn't open even after using so much strength. But after careful observation, he realized to his shock that the lid of the coffin wasn't made of wood. It couldn't be opened at all. In other words, the lid and the coffin were one, except that it was carved into the shape of a lid. Although there was a small gap between the lid and the coffin, if one looked closely, they would realize that the gap was carved on, and the lid and the coffin were clearly one. It would be a miracle if it could be opened. This coffin is dead? It can't be opened? Bai Boss also noticed the strangeness. That's right, it can't be opened, it's fake. Lin Yi nodded and carefully knocked on the surface of the coffin twice, his face full of shock. This coffin is solid, it's just a big rock. There's no bones in it. What? Bai Boss' eyes wide. He didn't know what to say at this sudden turn of events. The two of them prayed for a long time in front of a solid sarcophagus without any bones. What was going on? That's Grandmaster Zhang's bones? I don't know. But there are only a few possibilities. Either this stone coffin was swapped, and the real one was taken away, or this isn't the real tomb of Grandmaster Zhang, but a fake tomb used to confuse people. Lin Yi said. Fake tomb? There are so many good things in there? Bai Boss didn't understand and interrupted Lin Yi. Without so many good things, how can people believe this is a real tomb? How can it be fake? Lin Yi asked back. Chapter 2701. Zhang Liju didn't die? That's the last possibility I wanted to talk about. Lin Yi paused, a strange look on his face. Zhang Liju. He's not dead. What? Bai Boss was quite shocked by Lin Yi's words as he looked at Lin Yi in disbelief. Not dead? How many years has it been? How is he not dead? Even a Sky-class late-phase peak would be dead by now, right? Sky-class late-phase peak theoretically had the ability to extend their lifespan indefinitely, but that was only in theory. It was limited by the amount of treasures and the amount of chi in the world. It was already quite impressive to be able to live up to 200 to 300 years, and living up to 400 to 500 years was a miracle. Regular practitioners without resources could only live up to 100 years. What if he's a heavenly Tao master? Linny didn't believe in the existence of heavenly Tao masters before, thinking that it was just a legend, but after hearing the Fire Lion's words and seeing that thing, Linny finally understood that heavenly Tao masters had existed before. Hiss! Bai Boss took in a cold breath. You're saying that Grandmaster Zhang Liju isn't dead, and this tomb is fake to confuse people? I'm not sure if it is, and I don't know the specifics either. I'm just guessing, Linny said. Bai Boss nodded slowly. Lin Yi's prediction was quite possible. With that thought, Bai Boss asked curiously, then if the person in the tomb is Grandmaster Zhang Liju, why would he take Xiaoka away to scare us? I don't know, but maybe he didn't take her away. Linny shook his head. Grandmaster Zhang Liju might not be here anymore. Or it wouldn't have been so smooth when we raided the tomb for the first time, and Skybolt Pig has been living on his own all these years. Huh. Linny suddenly thought of Skybolt Pig and quickly gave him a kick. I say, little thing, is Zhang Liju dead or not? Gigi. The Skybolt Pig whimpered and pointed at the ground with its paw, indicating that the stone floor was too hard for it to write. Linny was about to tell it not to write and that it only needed to draw words on the ground. Suddenly, the sarcophagus in front of him disappeared. The sarcophagus disappeared into thin air. It disappeared in front of Linny and Boss Bai. The place where the sarcophagus was originally placed was now flat ground. Fuck. If Linny wasn't brave enough, he would have pissed his pants. The coffin was gone. Moreover, it disappeared without a sound or warning. Although Lin Yi's eyes were on Skybolt Pig, he could see the coffin from the corner of his eyes. No one came to move the coffin, and the coffin simply disappeared into the ground. It was like the ginseng fruit from Journey to the West falling to the ground. It was gone. Boss Bai was already so old, and he used to be the head of the Five Elements sect. Even he felt a little breathless at this moment. If Linny didn't cure his old disease, he might have died of a heart attack. This place is too weird. Boss Bai took a deep breath. But before we find Xiaoka, I can't leave. How about this, Master Bai? Let Skybolt Pig take you away first. Linny suggested. After all, Boss Bai was here with him, and he didn't have much of a relationship with Xiaoka. There was no need for him to wait here, so Linny asked him to leave first. How can I do that? Boss Bai shook his head. I'm your teacher, how can I leave you here? It's fine, I'll stay here. Okay. Linny didn't insist and started to carefully examine the ground where the coffin was placed. After calming down, Linny thought of some important questions. Most importantly, even if a Sky-class master came here and captured Xiaoka, why didn't Lin Yi's Jade warn him? Xiaoka was one of the members of Lin Yi's exploration team. If anyone in the team was in danger, the Jade would warn him in advance. Now that Xiaoka disappeared and the Jade didn't warn him, did it mean that Xiaoka wasn't in danger? Or could it be that Xiaoka wasn't captured but left on her own? This was the only explanation that made sense. Otherwise, why didn't the Jade react at all? After calming down, Lin Yi started to observe carefully. The ground here was no different from the surrounding ground, but the more it was like this, the more strange Lin Yi felt. If there was a coffin here, then the dust on the ground here should be much less than the other places. There should have been the outline of a sarcophagus here, but there wasn't one here, which meant that there was often dust here, which was why it was like this. In other words, it seemed like there was no coffin here at all. This stone room was more like an empty tomb. However, just as Lin Yi was looking, a coffin suddenly appeared again. It appeared in front of Lin Yi and Boss Bai just like that, and on top of the coffin stood a person. It was the missing Xiaoka. Even if Lin Yi had a strong endurance, he was still shocked. However, Xiaoka was finally back, which made Lin Yi sigh in relief. Xiaoka, you're finally back, just now you. Male thief, I found a mechanism, a big secret about the tomb. Xiaoka's face was full of excitement. The tomb we're in is only the first floor. There are more buildings below. What? You mean you went to the next floor? Lin Yi was shocked, his eyes wide open as he looked at Xiaoka in disbelief. What Linny didn't expect was that there was another world below the tomb. Not to mention that Linny could find this secret. He didn't even think about it before, but Xiaoka did. Yes, this coffin isn't actually a coffin, it's an elevator. Through this elevator you can go to the floor below. Xiaoka said. Of course, I'm just making an analogy. This thing shouldn't be powered by electricity. So, this thing is a mechanism similar to the elevator, right? Boss Bai was also very surprised and looked at Xiaoka with admiration. How did you find it? Chapter 2702. A different world, and then, you found out about this secret? Linny was very impressed as well. It seemed like bringing Xiaoka back to the tomb was a wise choice. If he came alone, he wouldn't have studied the coffin, and he wouldn't have been able to discover the secret of this staircase. Especially the strange tales chronicle. Linny and Boss Bai were about to leave, but Xiaoka found out that something was amiss. It seemed that Xiaoka was indeed a professional. No wonder old He would pay such a high price to hire a trap master like her to go with him. Yeah, I thought we could open some secret passageway, but I found a staircase. There's a whole different world down there with a lot of things for women, Xiaoka said. Oh, let's go down and take a look then? Linny was very curious about the space down there, but he was worried that Boss Bai wouldn't want to explore it. Alright, let's go take a look then. Boss Bai was curious as well. He was suspicious about this solid coffin. What if it was as Linny guessed, that Zhang Liju wasn't dead? Could it be down there? If he could see Zhang Liju with his own eyes, Boss Bai would be very excited. Then we'll all stand on top of the coffin. I'll activate the mechanism. And so, Linny, Boss Bai, and Xiaoka as well as Skybolt Pig stood on top of the coffin. Xiaoka then pressed on the wall, and the coffin started to descend quickly, but the speed was very stable and there was no impact at all. It was so quiet that people couldn't even feel that the coffin was moving. Linny couldn't help but be amazed by this situation. The design of this tomb was truly amazing. Linny took a closer look, and when Xiaoka pressed the mechanism, there weren't any bumps or bumps. It didn't look like anything was wrong. He didn't know how Xiaoka found out about it. The coffin stopped very quickly, and Linny and the others got off. They were now in an empty stone room, but one look was enough to tell that this stone room was different from the previous one. There were no carvings of Zhang Liju on the walls. Linny frowned as he watched the Skybolt Pig jump down from the coffin. This fella doesn't seem to be surprised at all. Could it be? Skybolt Pig, did you already know that there was an underground space here? Linny lowered his head and asked Skybolt Pig. Gigi. The Skybolt Pig was a little helpless, but he still nodded to show that he understood. Then why didn't you say so earlier? Linny glared at Skybolt Pig angrily. Wasn't this asking him to do it twice? If he had known, he would have gone to the tomb the first time he came. Why wait until now? Gigi. Skybolt Pig used his two front paws to gesture something as if he was defending himself. Write it on the ground with your paws. Linny didn't understand what it was trying to say. It was too complicated, and Linny couldn't guess what it was trying to say. Master said to let nature take its course. That was what Skybolt Pig wrote on the ground. Let nature take its course. Linny sighed and understood what Zhang Liju meant. It seemed like Zhang Liju wanted to let fate take its course. Being able to open the tomb and accept his legacy was a form of fate. Everything else was better to let nature take its course. There was no need to force anything. Skybolt Pig followed his master's wishes and didn't tell Linny that there was another level below the tomb. It was reasonable, and Linny had no reason to blame him. Forget it, let's go for a walk. Xiaoka, there's no danger here, right? Linny looked at Xiaoka and asked. No. Xiaoka shook her head. But I didn't go far. I just walked around for a bit before going back. Huh? That coffin disappeared again. Is it okay? White Boss suddenly pointed at the corner of the wall where the coffin used to be. The coffin went back up by itself. It's fine. Xiaoka shook her head. There's a mechanism here. The coffin can come down and pick us up anytime. Oh. White Boss nodded. It made sense. Otherwise, how would Xiaoka go back up? The three left the stone room together. Linny insisted on walking in front. His jade had an alarm function, and he would be able to react immediately if there was any danger. Piglet, you stay with me. If there's danger, you can take care of it in advance. You don't want me to die, do you? Linny kicked Skybolt Pig. I'm telling you, I'm an Earth class mid-phase peak now. It's only a matter of time before I reach Sky class. When that time comes, I'll be able to raise you to Earth class late phase peak. If you don't want that strength, then pretend I didn't say anything. Oink oink. Skybolt Pig heard Lin Yi's words and started drooling. He nodded, saying that he'll take care of it. Lin Yi was satisfied with Skybolt Pig's attitude, and so the man and pig went to the front to explore the way. Xiaoka and White Boss followed behind, and the three of them left the stone room together. After exiting the stone room, a huge hall came into view. It was very spacious. Although it was called a hall, it was more like a training field. There was a place to rest at the side of the hall. Around the hall, other than the stone room that they came out from, there were 3 other rooms. Is this all? Lin Yi looked at the spacious hall and said in shock. The situation here was out of Lin Yi's expectations. It was completely different from the first floor. This was more like an enlarged version of a house with 4 rooms and a living room. Yes, this is all, Xiaoka nodded. I went to the nearest room, and I think it's a woman's room. Oh, a woman's room? Lin Yi was shocked. No way. Zhang Liju was quite a playboy, living with a beauty in an ancient tomb? Ahem. White Boss blushed as well. He felt that it wasn't a good idea to talk bad about his grandmaster behind his back. Skybolt Pig, what's going on? Lin Yi turned to Skybolt Pig. Who's this woman? Zhang Liju said to let nature take its course, but Lin Yi had already noticed the problem, and Skybolt Pig, in order to level up, couldn't care less. He started to tell the story of this place. Chapter 2703. They all live here, so there are women's things here. The tomb above is just to confuse people, and this is where Zhang Liju, Ice Fairy, and Snow Fairy really live. Skybolt Pig continued. Oh, the sect master of Ice Palace? And the sect master of Snow Valley? Lin Yi's eyes went wide. He didn't know who the sect master of Snow Valley was, but the sect master of Ice Palace? Wasn't that Miss Crystal Candy's master? Yes, they were also the founders of Ice Palace and Snow Valley, and because one of them had the surname Bing and the other Xue, they were called Ice Fairy and Snow Fairy. From then on, everyone who inherited the position of Ice Palace and Snow Valley's headmaster, no matter what their previous name was, would have this surname, Skybolt Pig explained. This Zhang Liju. He's really something. Lin Yi couldn't help but be impressed. Skybolt Pig, are they really dead? Since there's a place to live here and there's a teleportation staircase, does that mean that they've been living here for a while? The master and the 2 mistresses were all Sky Class late phase peak, and had reached the limit of their lifespan. Even Zhang Liju couldn't sustain the 3 of them with all the treasures he had, and so the 3 of them made a deal to build an ancient tomb, and with the thought of success or death, they came here to do their closed-door training, looking for a way to break through Sky Class late phase peak and step into Heavenly Dao. If they succeeded, then they would become Heavenly Dao Masters, and they could pursue that legendary immortality, but if they didn't, then the 3 of them would sleep together in this tomb, and this would be their eternal home, Skybolt Pig explained. Then is Zhang Liju dead or not? Lin Yi asked. Shouldn't be dead, Skybolt Pig wrote after some hesitation. Shouldn't be dead? What do you mean by shouldn't be dead? Lin Yi asked curiously. If he's dead, then he's dead, and if he's not dead, then he's not dead. One day they disappeared together, and I'm guessing that they succeeded. After becoming Heavenly Dao Masters, they would go to a place called Sky Class Island. Master has many friends and connections, there should be a way to get there. Skybolt Pig wrote. I see. Lin Yi nodded. If that was the case, then Zhang Liju was most likely still alive and so were his 2 girlfriends. But Lin Yi was curious. Then didn't you come back here to take a look? I can't. Writing until here, the Skybolt Pig pointed at the stone door in the farthest room and said, that stone door can only be opened by a heaven rank expert. I can't open it. They disappeared from that room. Oh. Lin Yi was a little surprised. He didn't think that there would be such a mechanism in the ancient tomb. He wanted to go and take a look. Should we go to that door first? Thunder Pig nodded and led the way. Xiaoka was confused. Boss Bai was okay since it was related to the sect, but Xiaoka didn't know what Skybolt Pig was writing at all. The 3 of them arrived in front of the furthest stone door. Sure enough, next to the stone door Lin Yi found a line of words. Simplified recipe for Skydao Golden Core. Sky Class Late Phase Peak Masters Mystic First Level Refiner can open this door. Zhongliju. Skydao Golden Core? Linny looked at the words on the wall in shock and turned to Skybolt Pig. What is this Skydao Golden Core? Sky Class Late Phase Peak Masters can break through to Skydao after consuming it? Think so. Master has been studying how to make the Skydao Golden Core, and the two mistresses have been sparring every day in the training field, trying to find a way to break through to Skydao, Skybolt Pig explained. See? Linny was very excited by Skybolt Pig's words. So Skydao really did exist, and Zhongliju, he actually created the Skydao Golden Core. That meant that a Sky Class Late Phase Peak Master could instantly break through to Skydao after consuming the Skydao Golden Core? Isn't this way too awesome and magical? And this secret was discovered by Lin Yi. If after some time, Lin Yi really became a Sky Class Late Phase Peak Master, wouldn't he be invincible after consuming the Skydao Golden Core? Of course, this didn't include that so-called Sky Class Island. There were definitely a lot of Skydao Masters there, and Lin Yi's invincibility was only limited to the ancient level and 5 elements sect. So, Master Zhang really made the Skydao Golden Core? By boss expression was very weird. According to the sect, Master Zhongliju left the sect to find the method to make the Skydao Golden Core, and no one heard from him ever since. At that time, many people laughed at him, saying that it wasn't practical, and that it was better to work hard and break through to Skydao. But Master Zhongliju firmly believed that he could make the Skydao Golden Core. However, with the disappearance of the founder, this matter slowly died down and no one mentioned it again. Seems like he really did it. Lin Yi was once again filled with hope and confidence for the future. Step by step, there were hardships and dangers, but the heavens rewarded the hard-working, and Lin Yi's hard work brought hope to the heavens. But we can't go in right now. My boss actually wanted to see what the Skydao Golden Core recipe looked like. After all, he was a refiner, and he had an unforgettable feeling towards recipes. Plus, my boss's idol and goal back then was Master Zhongliju. But because of an accident, his dream was cut short. But now he had hope again. Let's go see the other rooms. Lin Yi didn't try to break the stone door with brute force. Since Zhongliju said so, he would definitely take some precautions, and Lin Yi didn't want to waste his efforts. They went to the stone room in the middle, the one Xiaoka hadn't been to before. As long as there was no danger here, there was no danger. However, looking at Skybolt Pig's actions, there was no danger at all. Skybolt Pig deftly opened the mechanism of the stone door, and the stone door opened. This was a weapons display room. On the wall of this room there was a huge rack. Inside the rack there were 3 types of weapons. Yes, there were only 3 weapons, no more, no less. Other than that, there was nothing else in the room. But it was normal. Be it Zhongliju, Ice Fairy or Snow Fairy, they were all Sky Class Late Phase Peak Masters. And other than their love for each other, they were all focused on the pursuit of martial arts. Other than weapons, they wouldn't study anything else. Chapter 2704. No, Master is a refiner and doesn't have a weapon. If you really have to talk about a weapon, it would be the Shinong Cauldron replica. Sky Thunder Pig shook his head and wrote, "The 3 weapons here belong to Ice Fairy and Snow Fairy. Ice Fairy has 2 weapons while Snow Fairy has 1. However, their mental cultivation techniques and physiques are similar. Their weapons are all water-type weapons and can be used together." I see. Lin Yi nodded and walked closer. As expected, 2 of the weapons had the word ice on them, and the other one had the word snow. Although these weapons were useless to Lin Yi wanted them for himself. These 2 weapons originally belonged to the Ice Palace, and if he could give one to Xiao Xiao, she would be very happy, right? As for the other one, he could give it to Crystal Candy. Of course, she had to be smart enough to return Xiao Xiao. The weapons of Snow Valley were useless to Lin Yi. He didn't know anyone from Snow Valley, but if he took the good stuff first, it might be useful in the future. If it was stolen like the Shinong Cauldron, then Lin Yi would regret it. Skybolt Pig, can I take all of these? Lin Yi asked. You are my master's fated one, and you are also my new master. Of course, these things are all yours. Skybolt Pig wrote straightforwardly. Obviously, Zhongliju had told him before. All right, I'll take them then, Lin Yi said and put the 3 weapons into his bag. Although Lin Yi didn't know what these weapons were and how powerful they were. But Lin Yi didn't care. He'd take them first. But after taking them all, Linny felt that he was being too greedy. He turned to Boss Bai and Xiaoka. Do you guys want them? I'm a refiner, why would I need sky-class weapons? Boss Bai smiled bitterly and shook his head. My weapon is also a cauldron. Then should I give you the real Shanong cauldron? Linny asked. Oh. Boss Bai, however, shook his head with a smile. That thing can't be fixed. It's useless. Can only be a collectible. Lil, you should keep it for yourself. Who knows, it might be useful one day. It's a waste to give it to me. Okay, what about you, Xiaoka? Linny continued to ask. I don't even know what mental cultivation method I want to cultivate. It's useless even if I have it. I'll tell you when I need it. Xiaoka shook her head. She was greedy, but she didn't want weapons that were useless to the orphanage. Then let's go to the other stone room and see what's going on. Linny nodded and did not say anything else. With Boss Bai, Xiaoka and Skybolt Pig, they went to the last stone room they hadn't seen yet. Of course, Xiaoka had been there before. After entering the stone room, Linny saw a huge bed. So Linny's heart started to flirt with this Zhang Liju. He was such a playboy, hugging women in his arms when he slept at night. From the looks of it, this was where Zhang Liju and the two ladies rested. The tomb above was really just an ancient tomb, and Zhang Liju should have been focusing on his research on the Skypath Golden Elixir. He didn't do any research on other elixirs, so the things above weren't of much use. Here, there's a big box with a lot of gold and silver hairpins and jewelry. Can I take them? Xiaoka looked at Linny hesitantly. Ugh. Linny didn't know if he should take these things. It was fine if he took the sky-class weapon, but these were Zhang Liju's personal jewelry. It wouldn't be right if he took it, right? Boss Bai, on the other hand, had heard about Xiaoka from Linny before. He respected this girl very much, so he nodded. E and I are both from 5 Elements sect, and Zhang Liju's and the 2 grandmothers' belongings are also 5 Elements sect's belongings. You can take anything you want. Since Ancestral Master and Ancestral Mother left and didn't take these things with them, it means that these things aren't very important and shouldn't be very useful to them. That's true. Linny looked at Skybolt Pig again and realized that this little guy didn't seem to mind at all. It seemed like these things really weren't important. But thinking about it, it made sense. Liju, Ice Fairy, and Snow Fairy all went to pursue Heavenly Tao, and these things weren't really necessary. Then take it. Okay. Xiaoka happily opened her bag and put all the jewelry inside. These things could be sold for a good price. After Xiaoka was done, Linny said, Master Bai, let's go. It's time to leave. Okay. Boss Bai nodded. I'm very happy to know that Zhang Liju might still be alive. If he could come back to 5 Elements sect, I believe Xianqin and the others would restrain themselves. Haha, if he was willing to come back, he would have come back a long time ago. He wouldn't have waited until now. Linny didn't have much hope. That's true. Let's go. Boss Bai said, and the group went to the stone room that they came from. Xiaoka pressed on the wall again, and not long after, the coffin appeared in the room. No one was surprised by this and they stood on top of the coffin. Xiaoka didn't need to press the mechanism, and after a while the coffin moved on its own, returning to the main chamber on the upper floor. Now they were sure that there wasn't any danger here. The people who came here before had probably left long ago. All their worries were just for scaring themselves. Just as he was about to leave the tomb, Linny started to covet the bead that tested for constitution. It was a good thing after all, and he wouldn't be happy if it was stolen as well. Should we take that bead as well? Boss Bai didn't want to take it at first, but then he thought that someone might come in and steal it. He hesitated and said, If you need it, we can take it too? Then let's take it too. Linny nodded. After all, he wanted to test other people's attributes. For example, Mengyao and Yushu. Linny had promised to help them find a suitable practitioner's arts, but he didn't know their attributes. Chapter 2705. After all, most of the attributes were hidden, and without special methods one wouldn't be able to see them. One major attribute could be split into many smaller attributes, like Bingtong's Ice Heart, Xiaoxiaozin Cold, Antiqing's Ice, and so on. These were all under the water attribute. These attributes, on the other hand, couldn't be tested on the bead at all. Only the major attributes could be tested, and so there might be situations where the practitioner's arts didn't match well. But with this bead, one could at least know the direction of training. Of the 5 elements, only the water attribute was complicated. The others were fine. Lin Yi took the bead and left the tomb with Boss Bai and Xiaoke. The process was quite smooth, and they didn't meet any danger or obstacles. The 3 entered the tomb at daybreak, and now that they came out, the sky was already filled with stars. This time the 3 returned with great rewards. Xiaoke got a bunch of jewelry, and Lin Yi got the answer to his constitution, 3 sky-class weapons and a bead for testing constitution. Boss Bai, on the other hand, got an exciting new master. Zhang Liju might not be dead. After sending Xiaoke back to the orphanage, Lin Yi and Boss Bai returned to Donghai. Xiaoke didn't want to leave, but with Boss Bai there, she didn't keep the male thief for long. She just held his hand reluctantly and let him leave. Looking at the disappearing car, Xiaoke sighed. Was this love? If only the male thief was Lin Yi. There wouldn't be so many things to worry about, but he wasn't. She didn't know how to deal with Lin Yi, who was getting more and more insatiable. But, thinking about the jewelry in her bag, Xiaoke felt happy again. These were all antiques, and even if they weren't priceless, they were still priceless. This trip wasn't a waste. On the way back, Boss Bai was still immersed in the exciting news that Zhang Liju might not be dead. What do you think? Should we look for Grandmaster Zhang's whereabouts? If we could find him, 5 Element sect would have searched for him a long time ago. Zhang Liju is a heavenly Dao master, we won't be able to find him easily. Lin Yi was calm. He didn't expect to find Zhang Liju. If Zhang Liju wanted to appear, he would appear. If he didn't want to appear, then so be it. No matter how you look, it's useless. Skybolt Pig had been in the tomb for 1,000 years, and he had never seen Zhang Liju. This meant that Zhang Liju had no intention of coming back. Otherwise, even if he didn't come back to the tomb, he would have gone back to 5 Element sect a long time ago. That's true. Boss Bai nodded. I was too impatient. Oh right, Teacher Bai. Why don't you tell me the story between Zhang Liju and that ice and snow fairy? You're from the 5 Element sect, so you should know this story very well, right? Lin Yi asked. He was very curious about Zhang Liju's love story. Of course, Xiao Xiao was part of the reason. Lin Yi was Zhang Liju's successor, and Xiao Xiao was the future Ice Palace Master. Xiao Xiao, on the other hand, was the future Palace Master of the Ice Palace. Lin Yi felt like he was a little similar to Zhang Liju. But he didn't have a wife named Xuegu. Master Zhang Liju, the Elixir Refinement Saint, the love story between him and the 2 masters' wives has been passed down for thousands of years. Master Xue and Master Ice were fellow disciples, and they were quite close as well. But they fell in love with the same man, and that man was Master Zhang Liju. Boss Bai told the story of the past, but what he knew was only from the sect's records. It wasn't the official records of the sect. But these 2 were both prideful people, and they didn't want to share their love with others. Perhaps it was because they were fellow disciples, and they didn't want to lose face. Oh? Then didn't they live together after that? Lin Yi was surprised. I only found out about this from Skybolt Pig. They all followed Grandmaster Zhang Liju. I only knew that Grandmaster Zhang Liju married Grandmaster Ice. Boss Bai said with a bitter smile. However, the Snow Ancestor chose to back off later. The reason was that the Ice Ancestor had a special constitution. She was poisoned and could not live past 20 years old. Therefore, after the Snow Ancestor learned the news, she did not want to compete with her and gave the man to the Ice Ancestor. Poisoned? Coldine body? Lin Yi paused. He remembered Xiao Xiao's special body. Miss Crystal Candy had said that Xiao Xiao's body was similar to their master's. It seemed that this was true. That's right, Coldine body. Boss nodded. That was why Grandmaster Snow chose to back off, but Grandmaster Zhang Liju was quite a character as well. He brought Grandmaster Ice to the Ice Spirit Mountain, where the Ice Palace is now, and found the Fire Spirit's fruit, successfully prolonging Grandmaster Ice's life. On the mountain, Grandmaster Ice accidentally obtained the heritage of the mountain, discovering the ancient ruins of the Ice Palace, and established her own sect with it. But after eating the Fire Spirit fruit, her body became very weak. After all, she really shouldn't have eaten that fruit. It's only effective when you're going crazy. Taking it at normal times wouldn't help at all, and would instead cause great harm. So, even after Master Ice became a Sky-class late-phase peak, her body wasn't that good. Master Zhang Liju had to keep making ice heart jade bone pills for her to keep her from falling sick. So Master Ice didn't die, and Master Snow went to find them again? Linny couldn't help but ask curiously. No, according to the records, Master Snow had already said that she was going to give up. With her proud personality, why would she lower her head? Boss Bai shook his head. Plus, Master Snow wanted to forget them, so she created Snow Valley and Heartless Arts. Heartless Arts? Linny blinked. That's right. As the name suggests, Heartless Arts means that the person who practices it will abandon all emotions, no longer having love. Boss Bai said. They'll be like an ice mountain, hard for people to get close to. Chapter 2706. I don't know about that. Maybe something happened later on, and Grandmaster Shui returned to Li Ju's side. But I don't know the specifics. Bai Boss said. It seems like the three of them broke through Sky Class late phase peak together and stepped into Sky's Tao, living the life of a celestial couple. Merciless arts can be broken? Linny was still a bit puzzled. Training in merciless arts and still being able to fall in love with Zhang Liju was quite miraculous. That? Who knows? Bai Boss said. Maybe the legends are wrong. Linny nodded. This was the only explanation. At the foot of the snowy valley, a patrolling disciple found a Jeep Wrangler SUV slowly moving towards the snowy valley. The patrolling disciple immediately came to the front of the Wrangler SUV and stretched out his palm, signaling the Wrangler to stop. Chapter 2716. School Beauty's Personal Expert. This is Snowy Valley's territory. If you are a traveler or an explorer, please stop here. The patrolling disciple's words sounded polite, but there was an irresistible sense of authority in it. This is Snowy Valley? Fun looked at the patrolling disciple in surprise. There was no one on the road, and she almost thought that they had gone to the wrong place. In this world of ice and snow, this person is only wearing a white unlined garment? Isn't he cold? Xiwen said, surprised. I'll go take a look. Kong Xiaobo said to the two and got out. But as soon as Kong Xiaobo got out, a cold wind blew at his face, and he couldn't help but shiver. He quickly adjusted his shirt and said, Hello, you're a disciple of Snowy Valley, right? We're heading to Snowy Valley, can you please lead the way? Heading to Snowy Valley? Who are you? What are you doing here? The patrolling disciple paused. Kong Xiaobo and the others didn't look like practitioners at all. They didn't have the aura of a practitioner at all. They looked more like tourists. Visiting an old friend. Kong Xiaobo said. Visiting an old friend? Where are your old friends? The disciple asked curiously. It's Tang Yun, my girlfriend, grew up with her. We're here to visit her. Kong Xiaobo explained. What? Are you here to visit Elder Tang? The disciple was shocked when he heard Tang Yun's name. His expression changed from indifference to respect. Please follow me, but you need to wait in the guest room. I need to report this to my superiors. Okay, no problem. Thank you. Kong Xiaobo said politely. Although Tang Yun was very arrogant here, Kong Xiaobo wouldn't make things difficult for these ordinary patrolling disciples. Kong Xiaobo went back to his car and followed the patrolling disciple to the guest room of the Snow Valley. He rested there for a while the patrolling disciple went to report. Of course, he wasn't going to report to Tang Yun, but to the Grand Elder. Although Tang Yun had a high status in Snowy Valley, the Grand Elder wanted to prevent Lin Yi's visit from affecting Tang Yun's training, so anyone who came to visit Tang Yun had to go through the Grand Elder's review and approval. The patrolling disciple went through Elder Zhang on duty to find the Grand Elder. That's right, Elder Zhang was still on duty today. Although Elder Zhang was good, he didn't dare to go against the Grand Elder's orders. You're saying that the three people outside are Tang Yun's friends? The Grand Elder frowned after hearing the disciple's report. One man and two women? Could it be Lin Yi, Chu Mengyao and Yushu again? Elder Zhang, come with me. If it's them, tell them to go back. Yes, Grand Elder. Grand Elder. Elder Zhang hurriedly said. Thus, the Grand Elder and Elder Zhang came to the guest room and saw Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan and Lu Xinwen. The Grand Elder let out a sigh of relief. As long as it wasn't Lin Yi, it was fine. She was afraid that Lin Yi would instigate Tang Yun to leave Snowy Valley and stop training. That would be a huge loss for her. You three, this is the Grand Elder of Snowy Valley. Elder Zhang introduced to Kong Xiaobo and the others. Nice to meet you, Grand Elder. Kong Xiaobo's tone was respectful, but he didn't think much of it. This was the old hag that Yushu talked about. She didn't look like someone easy to get along with. School Beauty's personal expert 2716-inch. What's your purpose for coming here? The Grand Elder asked directly. We haven't seen Tang Yun for a long time. We just want to see her. We don't have any other purpose, Kong Xiaobo said respectfully. School Beauty's personal expert was first published on www.guli.cc. Mobile users can visit WAP. Guli. Oh, it's fine if you want to see her. She's at a crucial point in her training right now, and I don't want her to keep thinking about the past. She might think of Linny when she sees you guys, and that would be very painful for her. It would affect her training as well. If she were to go berserk, we wouldn't be able to bear the consequences, the Grand Elder said with a wave of his hand. Going mad? Kong Xiaobo was shocked. He didn't think that he would go mad just by looking at Tang Yun. Wasn't this too scary? That's right. You guys are Tang Yun's friends. There's no harm in me telling you in detail. The Grand Elder frowned slightly and said, Come to think of it, you should know that when Tang Yun was training, she should have taken the senseless grass medicine liquid, but she didn't take it. Instead, she gave it to Linny, so there are some obstacles in her training now. The Grand Elder couldn't help but sigh. Tang Yun practices the emotionless art. She has emotions in her heart. It will affect her training. The training process will be abnormally painful. If she can't forget Linny, the pain will continue. If she goes mad, she will lose all her power. If it's serious, her body will explode and she will die. What? Explode and die? Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan, and Lu Xinwen widened their eyes in shock. Of course. Going mad and dying from body explosion is a common thing in the training world. It wasn't that the Grand Elder lied to them. It really existed. It was just that the Grand Elder exaggerated Tang Yun's situation. Back then, the founder of the sect created the emotionless art under this kind of pain. She didn't explode and die. It was just that she grew up in pain. Her situation was slightly different from Tang Yun. She didn't get love. Tang Yun already got love. However, the two's training situation was similar. Tang Yun wouldn't explode and die. At most it would be more painful and slower. Chapter 2707. He originally wanted to see Tang Yun, just a visit from an old friend, but he didn't expect that it would bring such a disastrous consequence to Tang Yun. Naturally, Kong Xiaobo wouldn't act rashly. Then, let's go back? I'm afraid that's the only way. Grand Elder shrugged helplessly. Then, can you let us see from afar? Xiaofan was unwilling. She had just recovered from her illness and Tang Yun left, so she didn't have a chance to spend time with Tang Yun. Do you think that with Tang Yun's current cultivation, she won't be able to find you? Grand Elder asked. This? Xiaofan was stunned, but she understood. Yes, Tang Yun was no longer the Tang Yun of the past, but a powerful practitioner. The school bell's personal expert sigh. How about this? If you want to see Tang Yun, it's not impossible, but you have to do as I say. Otherwise, if something happens to Tang Yun, you and I won't be happy. Grand Elder said. All right, Grand Elder, please say it. Kong Xiaobo nodded and immediately agreed. You are Tang Yun's friend, so you are naturally familiar with her. She will definitely listen to what you say, so I hope that you can say more words to Tang Yun to make her give up on Linny. Only then can she cultivate in peace. Grand Elder said. Only when she gives up can she cultivate in peace and won't go mad. This. Kong Xiaobo listened to Grand Elder's words and suddenly hesitated. You can't be delusional. Tang Yun can go back and reunite with Linny one day, right? That's impossible. Grand Elder struck the iron while it was hot and said, Let's not talk about Linny forgetting Tang Yun. Tang Yun herself has also cultivated the heartless tactics. In the future, when the heartless tactics is completed, she will no longer have feelings. What you are doing is to help Tang Yun get rid of her heart demon as soon as possible, and step into heaven realm. All right. However, we can only tell the truth. It's impossible to make things up. Kong Xiaobo hesitated for a moment, but still nodded in agreement. From his point of view, what the Grand Elder said was the truth, and she was definitely doing it for Tang Yun's sake. He couldn't harm Tang Yun. As for Linny and Tang Yun, the Grand Elder had also said that it was impossible, so Kong Xiaobo didn't have to worry too much. I just want you to tell the truth. You don't have to make things up. You just have to make Tang Yun give up. You can decide how you want to say it. I don't need to teach you. Besides, I don't know much about you, the Grand Elder said. Okay. Grand Elder's words made Kong Xiaobo not doubt it. In fact, the Grand Elder did not lie to Kong Xiaobo. What she said was the truth. At the end of the day, it was for Tang Yun's own good. If that's the case, then come with me, the Grand Elder said faintly. I hope that for Tang Yun's cultivation, you won't say anything inappropriate. Don't worry about that. We are not people who don't know what to do. Kong Xiaobo naturally didn't come here to think of a way to make Tang Yun go back. He only came to visit Tang Yun. Even Meng Yao and Yushu didn't want Tang Yun to come back. Otherwise, they wouldn't have hidden it from Lin Yi. This matter had to be concealed. Otherwise, to Lin Yi it would be harming Lin Yi. His current strength was not enough to fight against Shuegu. Tang Yun's cultivation was getting harder and harder. She wanted to cultivate quietly, but she couldn't forget Lin Yi. In her heart, she didn't want to forget about Lin Yi. She wanted to remember Lin Yi forever. Remember that afternoon under the tree. Remember the stars in the night sky of West Star Mountain. These were the most beautiful and precious memories of her life. Even if she couldn't see Lin Yi again, she wanted to remember these sweetness, the sweetness that belonged only to her, because there was another person who would forget them forever. The Grand Elder also tried to persuade Tang Yun to take the senseless grass, but Tang Yun refused. This was also the reason why the Grand Elder asked Kong Xiaobo and the others to persuade Tang Yun. At this moment Tang Yun was resting. A female disciple who served Tang Yun knocked on the door. Elder Tang, the Grand Elder said that a few of your old friends are here to visit. Oh, my old friends? Tang Yun paused. Could it be Meng Yao and Yushu? Thinking of this possibility, Tang Yun got excited. If they came, would Lin Yi come? Yes, a man and 2 women are waiting in the guest room. The Grand Elder wants you to go over, the female disciple said. Ah, okay, I'll go now, Tang Yun said excitedly. A man and 2 women, it must be Lin Yi, Meng Yao and Yushu. Tang Yun quickly left the room and rushed to the guest room without waiting for the female disciple. This surprised the female disciple. In the Snow Valley, Tang Yun only did cultivation every day. She was a quiet person and didn't like to talk. Why was she so excited today? The beauty's personal expert 2717, however, this was Tang Yun's business. As a female disciple, she couldn't ask. She could only follow behind quietly. Tang Yun quickly arrived at the guest room. The Grand Elder and Elder Zhang were already waiting at the door. Seeing Tang Yun, the Grand Elder said faintly, Elder Tang, your old friends are inside. I won't disturb you anymore. The Beauty's Personal Expert was first published on www.guli.cc. Mobile users can visit wap.guli.cc. With that, she left the guest room with Elder Zhang. This surprised Tang Yun. Lin Yi was here. Would she let her meet with Lin Yi alone? When Tang Yun entered the guest room with doubt, her doubt was instantly solved. It wasn't Lin Yi but Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan and Lu Xinwen. Tang Yun instantly understood. No wonder the Grand Elder was so relaxed. If Lin Yi was here, would she let her meet him? Tang Yun couldn't help but slap her forehead at the thought, smiling bitterly. She was too worried about Lin Yi. Plus Lin Yi had Meng Yao and Yushu to help him out. Why would he think of her? Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan, Xinwen, so it's you guys. However, Tang Yun was also very surprised to see them. She had been bored for a while. She didn't want to talk to anyone except for her adoptive parents and birth mother. She didn't have any common topics. Other than asking about Shueli's cultivation, there was nothing else to talk about. Yun, are you okay? Xiaofan was also excited when she saw Tang Yun. She ran over and held Tang Yun's hands with Lu Xinwen. Chapter 2708. First, Xiaofan and Xinwen miss you, so they wanted to see you, Xiaobo explained. Secondly, Meng Yao and Yushu wanted us to come see you. They couldn't get in touch with you guys, so they wanted us to ask how you're doing. They're a little worried. Tang Yun's eyes flashed with a hint of melancholy. I miss you guys too. I miss Yao and Shu. I miss Lin Yi even more. But I know that Lin Yi and I are destined not to be together in this life. How is he? Is he okay? Tang Yun couldn't wait to hear about Lin Yi. Boss. He's fine. Kong Xiaobo didn't know what to say. What's his strength now? Right, I heard that the hidden House Yu and House Xiao sent out a few masters to look for Lin Yi, but they didn't find Lin Yi, right? Has this matter been resolved? Tang Yun was very worried about Lin Yi's safety. When she first came to the Ice Palace, she could still contact Meng Yao occasionally, but the Grand Elder cut off her contact with the outside world, so she didn't know what was going on. Chapter 27:18. School Beauty's personal expert. Although she knew that Lin Yi was fine, she still felt uneasy. Hidden House Yu? Hidden House Zhao? Hidden House Yu? Kong Xiaobo smiled and shook his head. Boss is very strong now. He doesn't care about these families anymore. Now the Hidden House Han, House Pai, and House Shuang have all become his lackeys, and he can kill Sky-class early phase masters in one hit. What? Lin Yi can kill Sky-class early phase masters in one hit? What's his strength now? He's already above the middle stage of Heaven stage? Tang Yun's eyes flashed with disbelief, but also with excitement. No, boss is only an Earth-class mid-phase peak, but he's very strong. He can kill Sky-class early phase masters in one hit. As Kong Xiaobo spoke, he told Tang Yun everything Lin Yi had been up to recently. Tang Yun, on the other hand, was listening with great interest. She would ask a few small questions from time to time. She heard that Lin Yi was already so strong. It seemed that as long as Lin Yi didn't provoke the ancient sects, then the hidden power wouldn't be able to bring any harm to Lin Yi. Although the Great Elder had left, she was still a peak late-stage Heaven-class master. She could hear the conversation in the room from afar. When she heard that Lin Yi was actually able to instantly kill a Heaven-class early-stage master with his Earth-class mid-stage peak strength, they were also very shocked. Wasn't Lin Yi's growth a little too fast? The Great Elder actually didn't pay much attention to Lin Yi, so she didn't know what happened during this period of time. Now that she heard Kong Xiaobo's words, she realized that Lin Yi was actually so strong. But the Grand Elder wasn't worried at all. After all, Lin Yi's level was too far below hers. She could easily kill a Sky-class early phase master, and Lin Yi was only an Earth-class mid-phase. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't do anything. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't surpass the barrier brought by the level of strength. If that's the case, I can rest assured. Tang Yun heard Kong Xiaobo's words and nodded in relief. She nodded, gratified. Lin Yi was so strong that she didn't have to worry anymore. Right, Xiao Xiao told me to get Lin Yi a big wife. Who's his big wife now? Is it Yao Yao? That. Kong Xiaobo was also worried about how to persuade Tang Yun. Tang Yun asked this question, so Kong Xiaobo followed up. No, Lin Yi's big wife is Wang Xinyan. Wang Xinyan? Tang Yun was stunned. She had never heard of this name before. Where did this person come from? Yes, she is called Wang Xinyan. She is boss's university classmate and deskmate. It was confirmed through Yao Yao and the others. Currently, she is also living in boss's villa. I heard that she is sharing a room with boss. Kong Xiaobo said truthfully. He didn't want to agitate Tang Yun, but he remembered the Great Elder's orders and had no choice. They are already living together. Tang Yun heard this news and a desolate expression flashed across her face. Did he have someone else he liked? After all, she wasn't his first woman. However, Tang Yun felt relieved after that. It was fortunate that she wasn't. Otherwise, how would she be able to save Lin Yi? If something had happened between her and Lin Yi, would she still be able to stay here and train? Would the Shuegu use this as a condition to save Lin Yi? Obviously not. Although Tang Yun didn't know who Wang Xinyan was, she didn't know how Lin Yi met Wang Xinyan. How did he get to know Xinyan? He was someone that Meng Yao and Yushu both approved of, so there had to be no problem with his character. This was Xiao Xiao's idea, right? I think she told you too? Seeing that Tang Yun was struggling, Kong Xiaobo quickly tried to persuade her. Yes, I know. It's fine. Lin Yi and I are not fated to be together. We won't be able to see each other again. As long as he is happy, it's fine. Tang Yun smiled and said. Yun, it's good that you understand this. Since you've chosen this place, then train hard. Xin Wen also tried to persuade her. I understand. Don't worry. I'm not an impulsive and irrational person. I'm no longer the little girl that didn't know anything. Haha. Tang Yun thought back to the time when she was afraid that Lin Yi wouldn't want her and threw her phone on the ground. She felt that she was really naive back then. Chapter 27:18. School Beauty's personal expert. The Grand Elder heard the conversation from afar, satisfied with Xiaobo and Xinwen's reply. Tang Yun's reply made her sigh in relief. It seemed like Tang Yun could stay here and train in peace from now on. She wouldn't have to worry about accidents anymore. Yun, why do I feel that your body is very cold? Is this the consequence of practicing heartless arts? At this moment, Xiaofan was no longer as happy as when they first met. After calming down, she realized that although Tang Yun was very warm towards them, there was an unnatural coldness emitting from her body. It made people not want to get close to her, as if she was a big block of ice. School Beauty's Personal Expert. First published on www.guli.cc. Mobile users visit WAP. Guli. CC. Yes, Xiaofan, you noticed? Tang Yun smiled helplessly. This is what heartless arts is like. So, when I practice it to the extreme, even if Linny wants to be with me, he won't want to be with me anymore. There's an unnatural aura around me that makes people not want to get close to me. Chapter 2709. No wonder Linny dared to say that as long as he had one breath left, he could be healed. Seemed like he wasn't bluffing. Zhu Lauer felt that even if he had one breath left, Linny could still save him. At this moment he finally understood why Lin Yi Wu Chantian and Chun Yutian broke through miraculously when they were about to be crippled. It was because of this. No wonder when Linny was injured he was fine. Linny could heal himself. Zhu Lauer's mouth twitched as he recalled how Linny pretended to be a pig to eat the tiger after he was injured to lure the enemies to his doorstep. This was clearly a trap. Linny had probably healed long ago and was sitting at home pretending to be sick, waiting for the enemies to come looking for trouble. However, he misunderstood Lin Yi. Before Lin Yi discovered General Wei Wu's secret, he really did plan to run away with his whole family. I'm fine. I'm completely healed. Big brother, my meridians are healed. And they're even thicker than before. It's more beneficial for cultivation. Zhu Lauer looked at Zhu Lao's elder brother excitedly. Healed? That's great, that's great. Zhu Lao's elder brother let out a long breath. The Zhu brothers' parents passed away early, and the two brothers depended on each other. Although Zhu Lauer didn't die, he couldn't cultivate anymore, and his lifespan would definitely decrease. Zhu Lao was older than him, but he had to watch his younger brother pass away first. He felt bad thinking about it, but now it was great. He didn't expect his decision to bring his younger brother such a great opportunity. Don't talk nonsense. Now use your own arts. I'm going to increase your strength. Linny said faintly. Yes, boss. Zhu Lauer didn't doubt it anymore. He was ready to follow Linny wholeheartedly. With a boss like this protecting him, he wouldn't be afraid of anything in the future. He was like a cockroach that wouldn't die. When he was about to die, he would teleport back to the city and find Lin Yi to revive himself. Who could be more powerful than him? Zhu Lao's elder brother could feel his brother's happiness, but he didn't believe that Lin Yi wanted to increase his brother's strength. He didn't doubt that Lin Yi could heal him since there was Pai Zhihai's example. He was happy but not surprised, but increasing his strength was different. Lin, boss, aren't you going to test us? Zhu Lao's elder brother hesitated. It was too good to be true. Don't doubt the people you use, don't use the people you suspect. If you two are going to go against me, then I can easily take your lives, Lin Yi smiled. Although his tone was calm, it made the Zhu brothers shiver in fear. Yes, Lin Yi could even kill a sky-class master in one hit. Wouldn't it be a piece of cake for him to kill the two brothers? With that thought they were relieved. Lin Yi wasn't afraid of them betraying him at all. If they betrayed him, he would just kill them. Don't worry, boss. I, Zhu Lauer, swear that we two brothers will follow your lead from now on. Zhu Lao quickly said. Haha, I'll see the result, Lin Yi said indifferently. However, the more indifferent Lin Yi was, the more the Zhu brothers respected him. If it was Zhao Qibing, he would be happy to put on a fake act and say some touching words before promising some benefits. As he spoke, Zhu Lauer channeled his practitioner's arts and was shocked to find that his strength was increasing rapidly. Pure qi flowed into his body from his meridians and circulated in his body, as he channeled his practitioner's arts, turning it into his own. Elder Zhu was shocked. Before this, he had never heard of anyone increasing strength like this. Wasn't this a human cauldron? But it was different from a human cauldron. A human cauldron usually sacrificed their own strength to help others, But Linny wasn't stupid enough to give his strength to him. The only possibility was that Linny wouldn't lose his strength, but he could increase the strength of others. How terrifying was that? Zhu Lauer had just recovered from his injuries and didn't have much qi in his body, but with Linny helping him level up, he became a golden class master in the blink of an eye. He was only one step away from mystic class. Fast, it was simply too fast. Zhu Lauer was channeling his practitioner's art so Elder Zhu could see his strength. Elder Zhu's eyes widened as he looked at Zhu Lao's sudden increase in strength. He felt gratified and a bit envious at the same time. But Linny had said that he was an Earth class master, and he couldn't increase the strength of an Earth class master. So Elder Zhu could only pray that Linny would step into Sky class as soon as possible and increase his strength. In one morning, Zhu Lauer went from a useless person to a mystic late-phase peak. Linny gave him a small qi-gathering pill, and under Elder Zhu and Linny's protection, he swallowed it and became an Earth class master. Boss, I. Zhu Lauer was so excited that he couldn't speak. Elder Zhu told him that Linny could not only heal but also increase his strength, but he was still skeptical. Only after experiencing it would he know how magical it was. He didn't even know how to thank Linny. Alright, you've been out for a long time. Take these 2 potions back with you. As for this pill, take it in advance. Linny handed a pill and 2 packets of sealed medicine to Boss Zhu. This was what he'd just concocted. Okay, thank you, boss. Elder Zhu took the things from Linny and said excitedly. And the rest is up to you guys, but if you follow Zhu's instructions there shouldn't be a problem, Linny said. Normal people wouldn't be able to recognize the potions I make, not even Zhao Yaowang. Of course we trust you. The 2 brothers trusted Linny without any reservations. Linny drove to school, while the Zhu brothers went back to the hidden house. The Zhu brothers had been in high spirits a moment ago, but now they were back to their old self. His disguise was quite good, and if they didn't check his meridians, no one would be able to tell that his injuries had healed and his strength had increased. Of course, Yaowang wouldn't check his meridians if he had nothing better to do. Elder Zhu and Zhu Lauer quietly returned to the hidden Zhao house while Elder Zhu rushed to see the old head of House Zhao. Chapter 27:10. Lu Xinwen had never been in a relationship before. With her domineering personality, it was rare for her to find a suitable boyfriend. She didn't know the taste of love. Elder Tang, you should go train too. The Grand Elder appeared in the guest room and said to Tang Yun. He then looked at Kong Xiaobo and the others. I'm sorry, but Elder Tang's reception time is up. She needs to train now. Please stay here for now. Tang Yun wanted to spend more time with Kong Xiaobo, but she couldn't ignore the Grand Elder's words. My mom is here too. You guys are familiar with her. I'll let her talk to you guys. Auntie is here too? That's fine too. Lu Xinwen nodded. They couldn't disturb Tang Yun's training. Okay, I'll go first. Tang Yun stood up apologetically. I'll let my mom walk around the valley. The scenery here is very beautiful. Okay, Yun, you can go now. Xiaofan said. The Grand Elder left with Tang Yun. She'd achieved her goal, and naturally didn't want Xiaobo and the others to talk to Tang Yun any longer. Talking too much would cause Tang Yun to miss Linny again. What would she do? So, the training time was just an excuse. The Grand Elder's real goal was to stop Tang Yun from talking to them. Not long after the Grand Elder and Tang Yun left, Tang Yun's foster mother, Wang Yujia, came to the guest room. She was a ruthless person in the snowy valley. Even the Grand Elder didn't dare to offend her. Out of sight, out of mind, out of mind. The Grand Elder couldn't do anything to someone like Tang Yun. He couldn't beat or scold her, but he couldn't chase her away. Tang Yun's personality was gentle and gentle. The Grand Elder could control her, but Tang Yun's mother was a stubborn woman. She only cared about her family. She would take whatever she saw in the valley. She would order everyone around, as if the valley was her own home. What made the Grand Elder helpless was that Tang Yun's catchphrase was, I'm here with Lin Yi. I'm taking Tang Yun away. I'll ask my daughter Bingtang to come and tear down your snow valley. As a result, the Grand Elder's strategy for dealing with people like this was to coax her. As long as Tang Yun focused on her training and Mrs. Tang didn't cause any trouble, then they'd let her do as she pleased. The snowy valley had the money and the goods, so it didn't matter if they gave her some. As for ordering others to do things for her, it didn't matter. Tang Yun was an elder of the Snow Valley, and the mother of an elder naturally had such power. It was just that the Snow Valley didn't have such a situation in the past, and the parents of those elders were all dead. Moreover, Mrs. Tang's other identity was the birth mother of Ice Palace's Palace Master Bingtang. With such a powerful identity, even the Grand Elder wouldn't dare to do anything to her. Hence, Mrs. Tang became the Queen of Snow Valley. The disciples of the Snow Valley now all knew that there was a person in the Snow Valley who was even more powerful than the Grand Elder. If they encountered him, they must not provoke him, or else they would die very, very miserably. Xiaobo, Xiaofan, Xinwen, you're here. Tang Yun's mother was happy to see them. Why isn't Lin Yi here? Boss he. Auntie, you know that boss drank the senseless grass. It's Tang Yun's idea. We can't do it on our own. Kong Xiaobo said awkwardly. Oh, I know, but when he's strong enough he can come and take us away, or he can take over the Snow Valley. Oh right, I also have a daughter who can marry him. When the time comes, the Ice Palace and Snow Valley will all be his, and this matter will be resolved. Mrs. Tang said. Now, only Tang Yun's mother dared to say such outrageous things. The disciples of Snow Valley didn't dare to refute her. Everyone was used to it. Even the Grand Elder didn't dare to mess with her. Who were these disciples? That's true. Kong Xiaobo wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and nodded. Tang Yun's mother was amazing. She had another daughter who was going to marry Lin Yi? Right? Oh right, I've gotten a lot of treasures. Bring them back for Lin Yi. Let him eat them and increase his strength. I'll give him something good. Tang Yun's mother said. You guys can walk around too. If you see something good, bring it back. Don't be shy. Kong Xiaobo was speechless. Tang Yun's mother was so amazing. Although Kong Xiaobo knew that Tang Yun's mother was like this, he didn't like it. But today he realized that it was a good thing. Let's go. I'll bring you around. Tang Yun's mother said. She brought Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan, and Lu Xinwen out of the guest room to tour Snow Valley. This was the first time the three of them entered Snow Valley. They couldn't help but admire the scenery. It was really beautiful. It was much more beautiful than those ski resorts. It was a natural scenery. There were many disciples busy in the valley. But when they saw Tang Yun's mother, they avoided her. You, bring us some fruits and delicious food. Tang Yun's mother pointed at a patrolling disciple. Yes, Mrs. Tang. The patrolling disciple quickly nodded and left. He then came back with a fruit platter and a few cups of freshly squeezed juice. Kong Xiaobo and the others were dumbfounded. Tang Yun's mother took the fruit platter and passed it to them. Eat it. The fruits here are all natural and pollution-free. It's very delicious. Bring back a few boxes when you leave. We can have as many as you want. If it's not enough, we can pick it now. Okay. Kong Xiaobo said weakly. He took 2 fruits and passed them to Xiaofan and Lu Xinwen. He also took one for himself. The fruits here were really delicious. Kong Xiaobo ate one and didn't want to put it down again. After eating the fruits, Tang Yun's mother brought Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan, and Lu Xinwen to the herb garden. Tang Yun's mother was here for her weekly plundering. Today was the day, so Tang Yun's mother brought the 3 of them here. Coincidentally, a few disciples of the Snow Valley were walking towards them. They were pushing a small cart, which was filled with fresh medicinal herbs that had just been picked from the Snow Valley's herb garden. You stop right there. Tang Yun's mother put her hands on her waist and blocked the disciples. Madam Tang. The Snow Valley disciples hurriedly asked in fear and trepidation. What's the matter? Chapter 27:11. This. Mrs. Tang, you used to come early in the morning, but you didn't come today. We can't just wait for you here and not work, right? The disciple wiped the cold sweat on his forehead and said with a smile. Oh, now that you mention it, from now on, you're not allowed to work if I'm not here. I'll tell my daughters to kill anyone who dares to sneak around. Mrs. Tang humphed. Yes. The disciple smiled bitterly and nodded, not daring to refute. Even the Grand Elder didn't want to go against Mrs. Tang. So what were they to him? Let me take a look. What are these? Mrs. Tang asked as she pointed at the treasures in the cart. Mrs. Tang, there are 2 ripe ice spirit holy fruits, 2 ripe heavenly barrier-breaking fruits, and 5 ripe 500-year-old Lingji. The disciple didn't dare to hide anything and reported to Mrs. Tang in one breath. Ice spirit fruit? Isn't that what you used to heal Lin Yi's wounds? This is good, I'll take it. Give me both of them. Mrs. Tang said arrogantly. Mrs. Tang, there's only one of them. It's for another ancient sect. And it's already been reserved. If you take both of them, it'll be hard for us to explain ourselves. How about you just take one? The disciple said with a sad face. Are you trying to bargain with me? I don't think you know how good I am. Mrs. Tang glared at him. Let me tell you, I came to this broken snow valley to plunder things. Do you think I wanted to come here? I'm selling barbecue and I'm making money. Oh. The disciple was speechless, but he didn't dare to refute. Mrs. Tang, how about I give you another ripe ice spirit fruit next time? Take a look at this Tianyuan barrier-breaking fruit. This is also a good thing. It's useful for powerhouses below the heaven rank. As long as you're not at the peak of the late earth rank, as long as you reach the great perfection of every minor rank, you'll be able to smoothly break through the barrier after eating the sky-breaking fruit. There are no side effects, no poison and no pain. Oh? Alright, since you're so sincere, leave these 2 barrier-breaking fruits to me. You can take one of the ice spirit fruits and the rest of the items too. Give me a little of everything. Mrs. Tang waved her hand and said, This? Can you take one? 2 is too much. This is as precious as the ice spirit holy fruit. The disciple said with a bitter face. Forget it. So be it. I won't make things difficult for you. Although Mother Tang was tyrannical and liked to take advantage of others, she also knew when to stop. Although her 2 daughters were very powerful and allowed her to do as she pleased in Snow Valley, she also knew that when things reached an extreme, they would go in the opposite direction. Therefore, every time she plundered something, she would stop at a level that Snow Valley could bear. Yes. The disciple nodded and gave Mrs. Tang some of the good stuff in the carriage, including an ice spirit holy fruit, a sky origin barrier breaking fruit, and a few other natural treasures. Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan and Xinwen were all stunned. If they didn't know that there was a Grand Elder, they would have thought that Mrs. Tang was the Grand Elder instead. She was the one in charge of the Snow Valley. Xiaobo, when you guys go back, bring these to Lin Yi. I still have some natural treasures in my room. Bring them back for him as well. Mrs. Tang said. This? Aren't we going to leave some for Tang Yun? Kong Xiaobo asked. No need. Whatever she needs, she can just ask the Grand Elder for it. Mrs. Tang said. Is that so? All right. Kong Xiaobo was shocked by Mrs. Tang. This Snow Valley was no different from his own home. As the group toured the Snow Valley, Tang Yun was sitting cross-legged in her room, but she couldn't calm herself down to train. Although she agreed to find a wife for Lin Yi, she still felt uncomfortable when she heard that Lin Yi had found a wife. Especially when the wife wasn't Meng Yao. If it was Meng Yao, Tang Yun wouldn't have any special feelings. After all, she had seen through Meng Yao and Yushu's intentions before she left. This was also the reason why Tang Yun entrusted Lin Yi to Meng Yao and Yushu. But now it was a different person. It was someone called Wang Xinyan. Tang Yun didn't have much of an impression of this person. Although the name sounded familiar, she didn't remember meeting her before. She didn't know what kind of person she was. Whatever, as long as Lin Yi liked her, it was fine. Yao Yao and Yushu were the ones who helped her check. She shouldn't be the type of girl with a bad character. Tang Yun, how is it? Have you given up now? The Grand Elder's voice suddenly sounded out, giving Tang Yun a big fright. Tang Yun was thinking about Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan. She didn't even know when the Grand Elder entered the room. She quickly adjusted her emotions and raised her head to look at the Grand Elder. Grand Elder, actually, I didn't have any hope. I've been like this ever since I gave Lin Yi the senseless grass. Otherwise, I wouldn't have given it to him. As for whether or not I want to give up, I just want to remember this memory. I don't want to forget it. The Grand Elder frowned after hearing Tang Yun's words. She couldn't understand. If there's no hope, why do you want to remember this memory? Isn't it better to forget it? You're just adding to the pain. Aren't you just looking for trouble? Tang Yun smiled bitterly and didn't explain. The Grand Elder, who had no experience in love, couldn't understand this kind of unforgettable love between lovers. She also couldn't understand this kind of action, knowing the pain but wanting to remember it, so Tang Yun couldn't explain anything to her. The Grand Elder grew up in the Snow Valley. She didn't know what love was, so it was normal that she didn't understand Tang Yun. Coincidentally, this time your 3 old friends came here. I'll ask them to go back and get some of Lin Yi's blood. How about it? After you take the senseless grass, you can completely cultivate in peace, the Grand Elder said. I don't want it. Tang Yun shook her head. Her voice wasn't loud, but her tone was incomparably firm. Why? So that when you cultivate there won't be any pain? The Grand Elder was very puzzled. This is my own business. I hope the Grand Elder won't interfere. Tang Yun's personality was very stubborn. Once she made up her mind, it was hard to change her mind. Even the Grand Elder couldn't do it. Chapter 27:12. The Grand Elder stood up and left. Tang Yun closed her eyes and fell into a deep recollection of the past. In the next 2 days, Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan, and Lu Xinwen stayed with Mrs. Tang. After Tang Yun left, she didn't appear again. Although the valley was beautiful and fun, they weren't interested. Without Tang Yun, what was the point of staying here? However, they understood that although Mrs. Tang was unrestrained here, it was built on the premise that Tang Yun was obedient and cultivating here. Otherwise, why would the valley allow Mrs. Tang to do that? So, even if Tang Yun couldn't accompany them, Kong Xiaobo didn't think much of it. Today was their 3rd day in the valley, and Kong Xiaobo was ready to leave. Auntie, we're leaving today. Sorry for the trouble we've caused these few days. Kong Xiaobo said. You're leaving now? You're not staying for a few more days? Mrs. Tang paused and was a bit reluctant. What trouble? It's no trouble at all. If you don't come, it's boring for me to be alone. If you come, I can chat with you. Actually, although Mrs. Tang was quite domineering in the valley, she was also very lonely. Other than her husband Tang Juqing and Tang Yun's birth mother Xiao Ming, the only person she talked to every day was her adopted daughter Tang Yun. She couldn't see Tang Yun often. There were many other people from the Snow Valley who wanted to talk to her. However, these people only answered her questions one by one. They told her everything they knew, but this was basically a question and answer. It was completely different from chatting. Auntie, I still have things to do at the company, so I can't stay for long. Plus, if I stay here for too long, Boss Linny might be suspicious, so I think I should go back earlier. Kong Xiaobo understood Mrs. Tang, but since Tang Yun wasn't going to appear, they didn't have the mood to play anymore. All right, come again when you have time. Mrs. Tang sighed helplessly. And so, Kong Xiaobo, Xiaofan, and Lu Xinwen began their journey back, ending their trip to the valley. The Grand Elder didn't stop them from taking many treasures with them. To her, these things were all valuable, only Tang Yun was priceless. Tang Yun was her and Sydney's hope to step into the heavenly path. Otherwise, they would only be able to stay at the peak late phase of heaven class for the rest of their lives. Now that they had this opportunity, they might regret it for the rest of their lives. Kong Xiaobo brought Xiaofan and Lu Xinwen back to Songshan. But that night, Kong Xiaobo drove again and brought a car to Lin Yi's villa in Shueshang district. When Lin Yi saw Kong Xiaobo at the door, he was surprised. Xiaobo, why are you here? Boss, I went to buy the herbs. This time, not only did I buy the herbs that Shu needed, I also brought back some treasures that are useful to you. Kong Xiaobo pointed at the trunk of his car. Oh? It seems like you came back with a lot of things. Lin Yi didn't think that Kong Xiaobo's trip would be so smooth. When he said that he was going to buy the herbs for Yushu, Lin Yi didn't have much hope. After all, the herbs that Yushu needed were extremely precious. It wasn't something that could be easily bought. But now it seemed like Kong Xiaobo really got it easily. Did you buy the herbs I needed? Yushu said as she winked at Kong Xiaobo, signaling him to stop talking. After all, buying the herbs for her was just an excuse. Whether or not Kong Xiaobo could buy them was another matter. Yushu wanted Kong Xiaobo to stop talking nonsense. She took out a random herb from the trunk and said that it was what she needed. I got it. Kong Xiaobo nodded naturally and helped Yushu open the trunk. Huh. Yushu opened the box in Kong Xiaobo's trunk and saw the ice spirit fruit inside. She was about to scream, wasn't this the ice spirit fruit? How did he get it? However, she suddenly had an idea and said, I really bought it. This is the ice spirit fruit. I didn't think that you, Kong Xiaobo, are so reliable. Haha, of course. Kong Xiaobo relaxed. It seemed that the lie was over. Ice spirit fruit? What is that? Lin Yi paused. He had heard of the fire spirit fruit before, but this was the first time he heard of the ice spirit fruit. He didn't know what happened in the snowy valley. He didn't have any memories of this period, so he didn't know what the ice spirit fruit was. Is it the opposite of the fire spirit fruit? Yeah, the fire spirit's fruit is used to cure the yin's qi deviation, and the ice's spirit's fruit is used to cure the fire's qi deviation, the fire poison. Yushu nodded. This is what Shu wants. Oh, I see. Linny nodded. He naturally didn't know how precious the ice spirit fruit was, so he didn't think too much about it. The fire spirit fruit was precious, but it didn't mean that the ice spirit fruit was precious as well. Linny didn't think too much about it. But Mengyao was really shocked. When they went to the snowy valley, they had to go through a lot of trouble to get an ice spirit fruit. The snowy valley gave them a sky-high price, and they didn't have the money to pay for it. In the end, Tang Yun had to stay in the snowy valley to train in exchange for the ice spirit fruit. But now, Kong Xiaobo just casually brought one back? Tang Yun's position in the snowy valley was already this high? Mengyao was happy for Tang Yun, but at the same time she felt sad. Although Tang Yun's position had risen, she probably wouldn't be as happy as before. Linny picked up the ice spirit fruit, and as expected, a wave of cold air came from the fruit, making people feel comfortable. It was the best medicine to cure the fire poison. Shu, keep this well. Since this is the medicine for you, don't lose it. Linny passed the fruit to Yushu. Yes, Shu will keep it well. Yushu nodded. Kong Xiaobo took out the treasures he brought from the snowy valley. He took out the top one and said, Boss, this is also a good thing. It's called the sky barrier breaking fruit. After eating it, it can help practitioners below sky class to break through the barrier smoothly. There's no pain or side effects, but it can't be used to break through to sky class. Chapter 27:13. I should thank Wang Xinyan. Her father is a medicine merchant, and she knows a lot of people. Kong Xiaobo gave all the credit to Wang Xinyan. Wang Xinyan stood on the side, a little embarrassed. This had nothing to do with her, but in the end Linny liked her even more. This made Wang Xinyan both happy and conflicted. She didn't know how to face the pressure and conflict from the Sky Elixir sect in the future. Xinyan, I didn't expect Uncle Wang to have such powerful connections. Linny sighed. This sky barrier breaking fruit is really something good. Linny had been stuck at the barrier of breaking through to the late phase of Earth class for a while, always lacking an opportunity to do so. Last time when he fought with Xiao Yi, Boss Bai ended the battle before Linny could do much, but Linny didn't regret it. It was too dangerous last time, and he couldn't risk his life for an opportunity to break through. During this time, Linny had been holding Wang Xinyan every day, and the speed of his training had been decreasing. This was because the pure qi in his body was full, reaching a peak. If he didn't break through, he wouldn't be able to advance any further. Linny had been worrying about how to find this opportunity, but he didn't expect Kong Xiaobo to bring back such a good thing. The sky barrier breaking fruit. Linny had heard a lot about these miraculous treasures. Using medicinal pills to increase strength and break through barriers was one thing, but using treasures could also increase strength and break through barriers. This was also the reason why the disciples of the noble houses and ancient sects could train so quickly. With such good resources, how could they not level up quickly? This sky barrier breaking fruit was actually one of these treasures, a special product of the Snow Valley. Although Lin Yi's guess was correct, not all disciples of the ancient sects and noble houses could use these treasures. The production of this sky barrier breaking fruit wasn't high, and there weren't many who could use it. Lin Yi did this because of Mother Tang. If not for Mother Tang, Lin Yi would not have been able to obtain this item from Shui Gu. Boss, you've been stuck at Earth class mid-peak for a long time, haven't you? Can you break through this time? Kong Xiaobo was also very excited. If Lin Yi could instantly kill a heaven rank early stage expert when he was at the peak of mid-Earth rank, then wouldn't he be able to instantly kill a heaven rank mid-stage expert when he reached late Earth rank? He was looking forward to it. The stronger Lin Yi was, the more at ease they, as his underlings, would be. Only then would they not be bullied by others. Yes, I will take it tonight. Lin Yi thought for a while, and decided to take the sky barrier breaking fruit now. After all, this sky barrier breaking fruit was only effective for those below heaven rank, and it couldn't be used to break through to heaven rank. In other words, Lin Yi would only be able to break through to Earth class late stage and peak late stage. There were only 2 levels left, and Lin Yi wouldn't be of much use if he stayed. The time of the Sky Elixir School's trial was getting closer and closer. If Linny wanted to participate in the trial with a stronger strength, then the only way was to take the sky barrier breaking fruit and enter the trial with Earth-class late-stage strength. As for the barrier between Earth-class late-stage and peak late-stage, it would be better to look for other opportunities. It was better than being stuck like this. As for the other treasures, some are for consumption, some are for alchemy, but they aren't as precious as these. Boss, you can use them as you see fit. I don't even know what they are for, Kong Xiaobo said, pointing at the trunk of the car. These things were all given to him by Mrs. Tang, and she didn't explain many of them to him. Of course, Mrs. Tang didn't even know what they were for. She just took whatever she saw. As for what they were called and what they were for, she wasn't a cultivator, nor was she an alchemist. Even if the disciples told her, she wouldn't be able to tell or remember them. Okay. Linny looked at the other treasures in the car. There were even ingredients for Ice Heart Jade Heart Pill. This surprised Linny. Who did this Kong Xiaobo buy these ingredients from? The more she looked at it, the more she felt that he had ransacked the warehouse of a large ancient sect or the Cultivator Trading Association. Otherwise, these things were too precious. How could he buy them so easily with money? And he bought so many of them at once? If it weren't for the fact that Linny knew that Kong Xiaobo wasn't a cultivator and had no strength, he would have thought so. But now Linny knew that he was thinking too much. If Kong Xiaobo really went to rob, he probably wouldn't be able to come back. Of course, this was because Linny ignored Mrs. Tang's existence. In fact, this could also be considered as Kong Xiaobo robbing the ancient sect Shuegu. It was just that Mrs. Tang was an accomplice, and it was a brazen robbery. Shuegu didn't dare to say anything. Shield bro. Hurry up and eat the sky barrier breaking fruit, Yushu said to Linny. Oh? Why do you want me to leave? Linny paused and looked at Yushu. No, it's just that Xinyan Sis asked Fan to send a message to his father, and his father replied and asked Kong Xiaobo to bring it back. It's a bit private, it's not good for you to watch, Yushu said. Oh okay, I'll go then. Linny nodded, not suspecting anything. Although he wondered why Xinyan didn't call him directly, he couldn't eavesdrop since Yushu said so. Linny took the sky barrier breaking fruit and entered the room. Only Mengyao, Yushu, Xinyan and Kong Xiaobo were left outside the villa. How is Yun Yun sis? Did you tell her about Tang Yuqi? Mengyao lowered her voice and asked anxiously. Sis-in-law Tang Yun is pretty good. These treasures are all given to me by Mrs. Tang. She's very powerful in Shuegu, and she wants half of the good stuff in front of her, Kong Xiaobo said. And after we went, Kong Xiaobo told the three about the conversation with the Grand Elder and what he said to Tang Yun. At the end he said, because of the time constraint I didn't have time to tell you about Tang Yuqi, but sis-in-law Tang Yun promised that she'll call you guys in a few days. Okay. Mengyao nodded. From Xiaobo's words, she could imagine how short the time he'd spent with Tang Yun in the Snowy Valley was. The Grand Elder had interfered, and there were a lot of things they couldn't talk about. Chapter 27:14. It's okay, it's not your fault. You've already gained a lot from this trip, especially the sky barrier breaking fruit you brought back for Linny. It was very timely. Linny hasn't broken through the barrier for a while now, and with this fruit it'll be much easier, Mengyao said. I thank you on his behalf. What are you thanking me for? This is mainly because of Mrs. Tang and sis-in-law Tang Yun's hard work. I'm just a transport worker, Kong Xiaobo smiled. Yeah. Mengyao sighed. In the past she didn't like Tang Yun, thinking that Tang Yun stole her personal follower, but now she missed the days when Tang Yun was around. She thought that if Tang Yun could come back, then they'd be able to get along very well. Alright, if there's nothing else, I'll leave first. I still have things to do at the company tomorrow, Kong Xiaobo said. I'll go say hi to boss. No need, he went to eat the sky barrier breaking fruit, right? Mengyao said. Alright, I'll leave then. Kong Xiaobo and Linny were very familiar now, so he didn't bother with pleasantries. He had to rush back to Songshan tonight, and he still had to go to work tomorrow. He had been away from the company for a long time, and he had a lot of things to do. It would be very difficult for him to manage the company alone. Linny, on the other hand, carried the treasures back to his room. He really didn't eavesdrop on the conversation between Kong Xiaobo and the others outside. Since Shu asked him to leave, she must be avoiding him, and it would be a bit of a pervert for him to eavesdrop. Linny didn't eat the sky barrier breaking fruit immediately, but instead he flipped through Zhang Liju's notes. In the notes, Zhang Liju had recorded a lot of treasures, and Linny decided to see if there was an introduction to this item. Of course, Linny wasn't afraid that Kong Xiaobo would lie to him, but he was afraid that there would be a requirement before using it. As expected, Linny found the sky barrier breaking fruit in the latter half of the notes, the sky barrier breaking fruit. This treasure had existed since ancient times, and was also known as the little sky barrier fruit. The sky barrier fruit was a treasure that could help one break through to sky class, but it was too rare, and it couldn't be planted artificially, so it was basically extinct 1,000 years ago. As the name suggested, the sky splitter fruit was a fruit that could help an earth class late phase peak break through to sky class. It didn't have the same side effects as the qi gathering pill. In fact, if a person who had taken the qi gathering pill took another sky splitter fruit, they would be able to overcome the side effects of the qi gathering pill. Of course, this was just Zhang Liju's guess. He had never seen the sky barrier fruit in his life, and it had already been replaced by the qi gathering pill. The side effects of the qi gathering pill weren't that obvious, so he didn't have to spend too much time looking for it. As for the little sky barrier fruit, it was just a common name, and it didn't have any effect on breaking through to sky class. It was only useful for those below sky class. The sky barrier fruit, on the other hand, was useful for breaking through to sky class. As for the sky barrier breaking fruit, it didn't have any requirements, and just like Kong Xiaobo said, there were no side effects, and after eating it, one could easily break through the barrier. What a magical fruit! Linny sighed as he looked at the introduction. He didn't think that he would be this lucky. After confirming that there were no side effects, Linny put the sky barrier breaking fruit in his mouth. A sweet taste seeped into his meridians from Linny's mouth, giving him an indescribable feeling of comfort. Linny didn't think that this sky barrier breaking fruit would be this delicious. It was like a top quality fruit, much better than the qi gathering pill he had eaten before. If this was a fruit, it would definitely attract a buying frenzy, but the quantity meant that the price wouldn't be cheap, let alone normal people. Even rich people wouldn't be able to afford it. This sweet and refreshing feeling circulated in Linny's meridians, making Linny click his tongue in wonder. The only thing that could still leave a fragrance in one's body after eating a fruit. Was this the sky barrier breaking fruit? About 20 minutes later, the sweet taste gradually dissipated into Linny's body, and Linny was surprised to find that he was now an Earth-class late-phase master. And during the breakthrough process, Linny didn't even feel the slightest bit of pain. This didn't feel like a breakthrough at all, it felt like a kind of enjoyment. It was like Linny had eaten a delicious fruit, and after eating it he had broken through. This kind of magical feeling made Linny feel incredulous, and he couldn't help but sigh. Indeed, in this world, there were some miraculous treasures that couldn't be judged with common sense. His strength that hadn't been able to break through for a long time had broken through so easily. This was the smoothest and easiest breakthrough he'd ever had. Much easier than the first time he'd entered the jade space. If only he had another sky barrier breaking fruit, then breaking through to Earth-class late-phase peak wouldn't be a problem at all. With Xinyan and the jade space, Linny could easily break through the barrier to Earth-class late-phase peak, but the sky barrier breaking fruit wasn't that easy to find. Linny didn't even need to ask to know that Kong Xiaobo wouldn't have a second one. After Kong Xiaobo left, Mengyao, Yushu, and Xinyan returned to the living room. They thought that Linny wouldn't be able to come out after entering the room, and they spent the whole night trying to find a way to break through. They didn't think that Linny would come out of the room. "Linny, why did you come out?" Mengyao blinked. "Shield bro, you broke through?" Yushu knew Linny, and seeing Linny walk out of the room looking refreshed, she knew that Linny must have broken through the barrier. Xinyan raised her head, pleasantly surprised, and looked at Linny. These few days, Xinyan could clearly feel that Linny didn't absorb much of her fragrance when he was practicing. Most of the time, she found that Linny was just hugging her. This made Xinyan shy and happy at the same time, but she didn't know what to do. She hoped that Linny could break through as soon as possible, so that he'd have more strength to fight against the Sky Elixir sect. If Linny really did have the strength to fight against the Sky Elixir sect before he graduated, then all of Xinyan's worries would be solved. "Linny, you really broke through?" Xinyan asked. "Yeah, I didn't think that Xiaobo's Sky Yuan barrier breaking fruit would be such a good thing. After eating it, I broke through the barrier easily without any pain," Linny said in surprise. "That's right." Chapter 27:15. You can do it again? Linny paused. But it's only useful for people below sky class. It's useless for people above sky class, so I can only use it one more time. Oh, I mean, ask Xinyan's dad to buy one more. Yushu changed her words. Yushu changed her words. She was thinking that when Tang Yun called in a few days, she would tell Tang Yun to ask for another one from the Snowy Valley. And let me see if it works, Wang Xinyan quickly said. Wang Xinyan quickly said. Tang Yun's effort was taken by her, and this made her blush. She wasn't a greedy person, and she didn't want Tang Yun's gratitude to be transferred to her. That would make her feel like she owed him. Originally, she already felt guilty for replacing Tang Yun as Lin Yi's wife, and now she took Tang Yun's credit. She would feel uneasy. Although Wang Xinyan didn't promise anything, she slept on the same bed with Lin Yi every day. Who would believe that she wasn't Lin Yi's girlfriend? Alright, it's fine if it's expensive, Lin Yi said. Alright, Shield Bro, you should tell us about your trip to the ancient tomb, right? I love listening to your stories. Yushu changed the topic, not wanting to talk too much about Kong Xiaobo's trip. Oh, the ancient tomb. Great, this trip to the ancient tomb has really yielded a lot. Lin Yi nodded, not suspecting anything. He just came back from the tomb today and he didn't go to school. Mengyao, Yushu and Xinyan came back at night, and before Lin Yi could talk to them, Kong Xiaobo came. So Lin Yi sat down and told them about the tomb trip. It was a scary experience and Mengyao broke out in cold sweat, especially when she heard that Xiaoka was missing. Her face turned pale. But when they heard that Xiaoka found a trap, they let out a breath of relief. Yushu clicked her tongue in wonder. Shield Bro, this Xiaoka is pretty strong. No wonder she's a master from the Steel sect. If it weren't for her, you and Teacher Bai wouldn't have gotten anything from the tomb. Yeah, Xiaoka is a little greedy, but it's not her shortcoming. She didn't use all the money she took on herself. She used it all on the children in the orphanage. Lin Yi nodded. Xiaoka is a little greedy, but it's not her fault. This was also the reason why Lin Yi had been helping Xiaoka. Otherwise, if Xiaoka was a greedy girl, Lin Yi wouldn't have helped her for free, and he wouldn't have fallen for her. Then do you like her? Yushu asked suddenly. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. He really didn't know how to answer that question, but after thinking about it, he admitted it and nodded. I kind of like it. Lin Yi's answer wasn't out of Mengyao and the others' expectations. After all, if Lin Yi didn't like Xiaoka, he wouldn't be helping her like this. Xiaoka isn't a bad person, but it's not practical for you to bring her home. She can't leave the orphanage, Mengyao said after some thought. Yeah, let's not talk about that. Lin Yi waved his hand. I brought this treasure back from the tomb. You guys can test it too. See what kind of body you have, and I'll help you guys keep an eye out for the practitioner's arts. Sure. Mengyao had been wanting to become a practitioner for a long time. She realized that Lin Yi couldn't protect her forever. Lin Yi had his own things to do, and even if they stayed under the same roof for the rest of their lives, he still had to go out and do things. Mengyao had to be able to protect herself so that Lin Yi could leave with peace of mind. Most importantly, Mengyao envied those sky-class practitioners like Bingtang and Sydney. Their looks could slow down the aging process, and Mengyao didn't want to become an old woman in the future. That way she wouldn't fit in with Lin Yi. Whether it was Tang Yin or Xiao Xiao, they would always be young, forever 20 years old. She didn't want to lose out to them, and so she was very passionate about training. This test is very easy. You just need to put your hand on it and activate your practitioner's arts. Huh? You guys don't have practitioner's arts? Lin Yi paused, suddenly thinking of a serious problem. Back in the tomb, Lin Yi didn't read the records in detail. It was Boss Bai who told Lin Yi what to do after reading it, and so Lin Yi didn't know how to test Mengyao and the others. You can't test without practitioner's arts? Then this thing. What does it do? Mengyao was speechless. Why did this treasure that Lin Yi brought back look like a piece of trash? Let me ask. Lin Yi took out his phone and dialed Boss Bai's number. What's up, Lil? Boss Bai picked up the phone quickly. Master Bai, it's like this. I'm going to use that bead to test Mengyao and the others' physique, but they don't have practitioner's arts. How are we supposed to test them? Lin Yi asked. Oh, you can test them without using the practitioner's arts, but it can only test false and true attributes, not virtual attributes. Boss Bai explained. Whether it is a false attribute or a real attribute, They are all innate in the body, so they can be tested directly. However, the virtual attribute is created after birth, so it cannot be tested without the internal arts and mnemonics. I only let you use the practitioner's arts to test the virtual attributes in your body. If you want to test true and false attributes, you don't need to use the practitioner's arts. Just put your hand on the bead for more than 5 seconds, and you'll be able to test them. Oh, so that's how it is. Linny understood. Alright, Master Bai, you go on with your work. I'll test it here. Okay. Call me if you don't understand anything. Boss Bai said quickly. After hanging up, he turned to the 3 girls. You don't need to use the practitioner's arts to test for true and false attributes. You just need to put your palm on the surface for 5 seconds or more. Chapter 27:16. Shu, you have a fire attribute, and it's a true attribute, Linny said after looking at the results. Alright, I guessed it a long time ago. Otherwise, why would there be fire poison in my body? Yushu shrugged, but there was a hint of disappointment in her eyes. Yao Yao, it's your turn. Linny didn't notice Yushu's disappointment. And let me see. Mingyao nodded and mimicked Shu, placing her palm on top of the bead. After a while, a bright golden light flashed on the bead. It was very dazzling. Yao Yao, you have a metal attribute, which is also a true attribute, Linny said after seeing the results. The 2 results surprised Lin Yi. He didn't think that both of them had a true attribute. This type of attribute was the easiest to train with. As long as they had the appropriate practitioner's arts, their training speed would be faster than normal practitioners. Metal attribute? So I have a metal attribute. Mingyao was surprised by her own attribute. Then I'll have to pay attention to the incantations for the metal attribute in the future. Linny nodded and turned to Xinyan. Xinyan, it's your turn. Can train too? Xinyan placed her palm on the bead curiously, waiting nervously for the results. But after waiting for 5 to 6 seconds, there were no changes on the bead. Linny couldn't help but feel disappointed. Could it be that Xinyan couldn't become a strong practitioner because she didn't have a true and false attribute in her body? Although artificially created virtual attributes could also be cultivated, they would definitely not be able to cultivate as quickly as cultivators with real attributes and false attributes after cultivation. Xinyan was disappointed as well. Mingyao and Yushu both had their own attributes, but she didn't. Did that mean that she couldn't become as strong as Lin Yi? Lin Yi saw the disappointment in Xinyan's eyes. He was about to tell her that even a false attribute could be a big deal, just like him, but before Lin Yi could say anything, the bead started flashing with a strange light, as if a computer program had gone haywire. Ah! Mingyao, Yushu and Xinyan gasped at the strangeness of the situation, not knowing what was going on. Xinyan, on the other hand, subconsciously pulled her hand back from the orb. Only then did the light on the bead dissipate, and Lin Yi was shocked by the sudden turn of events. What was going on? Xinyan's test result was different from Lin Yi's. Lin Yi had the 5 elements and 7 elements, and while he had a variety of colors, it was a regular display of 7 colors. Xinyan's, on the other hand, was completely different. It was as if the program had gone haywire, and the colors were flashing together, making it hard to tell what color it was. Xinyan, why don't you test it again? Lin Yi said, confused. Okay. Xinyan had only taken her hand away from the bead because of the shock, but Lin Yi's words made her put her hand back immediately. After a while, the same thing happened to the bead again. It was shining with all sorts of colors, and it was impossible to tell what kind of light it was shining with. Lin Yi scratched his head, troubled. He could only ask Boss Bai for help again. He dialed Boss Bai's number and got straight to the point, telling him about the weird situation he encountered at Wang Xinyan's place. What? Flashing with all sorts of colors? Boss Bai paused. Really? Are you sure you didn't see it wrong? No, it's still flashing now, Lin Yi said. I really haven't seen this before, and it wasn't introduced in the records of strange events. Boss Bai said. Even Master Zhang Liju hasn't seen this before, so I can only see it with my own eyes and help you look for more information. Alright, I'll be troubling you then, Master Bai. Lin Yi smiled bitterly. So this situation wasn't even recorded in the records of strange events. It seemed like even Zhang Liju hadn't seen it before. Alright, I'll contact you when I have news, Boss Bai said. After hanging up, Linny repeated what Boss Bai said to Xinyan and the others. Xinyan was quite surprised as well. Was her constitution really that weird? Even the bead used for testing couldn't detect it? Wasn't this too strange? Then, can I practice it or not? Xinyan asked carefully. I'm not sure yet, but since the bead can detect your element, I don't know what it is, but you should be able to practice it. It's just that I don't know what kind of arts you need to practice. Linny thought about it. It's fine actually. Don't worry, I'll let Master Bai check it out for me. And alright. Xinyan nodded. After testing the attributes, the group talked about training for a while more before going to rest. Linny, on the other hand, excitedly went back to his room with Xinyan. From tonight onwards, Linny would be able to hug Xinyan and train at lightning speed again. Going from Earth class late phase to Earth class full late phase was a rather long process, but with Xinyan's help it should be faster. The next morning Linny woke up early. That night Linny had gained quite a lot. With Xinyan's help, his training speed was a lot faster, and Linny was very satisfied. However, Xinyan didn't wake up. She was still sound asleep even after Linny had prepared breakfast. This confused Linny a little. In the past few days, Xinyan had been taking the medicine that Linny made every day, and it seemed like her weak body was getting better. She wasn't that sleepy anymore, and she would wake up normally to eat breakfast. But today she was sleepy again. This confused Linny. Mengyao, Yushu and Han Jingjing were all there, but Xinyan wasn't up yet. Linny had no choice but to go to her room and wake her up, only to find that she was still sound asleep on the bed. Xinyan, it's time for breakfast. Linny nudged Xinyan. Chapter 27:17. Xinyan didn't wait for Linny's reply before falling asleep. Linny didn't know if he should laugh or cry. Was she too tired last night? It couldn't be. Xinyan went to school like normal yesterday, and didn't do anything that drained her stamina. Linny had to continue practicing, so she went to bed early. Why was she sleeping so much today? But since Xinyan had said so, Linny decided to leave her be. He went out to talk to Meng Yao and started eating breakfast, but Linny prepared a portion for Xinyan in a lunchbox. He'd bring it to school later. Linny had delayed going to school as much as he could, but Xinyan was still drowsy when she woke up. She followed Linny to the car and fell asleep again. Linny, is Xinyan sick again? Can you give her a checkup later? Meng Yao felt that something was wrong with Xinyan. She hadn't been like this yesterday. Xinyan had woken up in high spirits when Linny had gone to the tomb, a stark difference from today. What was with the drastic change in just one day? All right. I'll give her a checkup when we get to school. Linny nodded. They parked the car at school, and Xinyan had to get up no matter how reluctant she was. She couldn't sleep on the side of the road, could she? She wasn't sleepwalking yet, after all. Do you want me to carry you to class? Linny asked, seeing how tired Xinyan was. Ah. Xinyan was almost tempted by Linny, but she couldn't provoke Xiaolong in school. She gritted her teeth and shook her head. No need, I can walk myself. All right. Linny didn't insist, and went to class with Xinyan. Wang Xinyan's head was heavy, and her feet were light. She almost fell a few times, and when she reached her seat she fell asleep before Boss Bai came. Linny took the opportunity to examine her, and found that Xinyan's body, which had just recovered, was showing signs of weakness again. This situation surprised Linny. Xinyan had been drinking the medicine Linny made for her every day, and her body should have been getting better and better. Why was it getting worse and worse? Linny frowned, unable to make sense of it. Xinyan was so energetic last night. Why was she so different this morning? Linny didn't have time to think about it before Boss Bai entered the classroom and started a new lesson. Linny saw that Xinyan was really too tired, and decided not to disturb her. He took her notebook and started making notes for her. Linny didn't need to remember these things, since he was Boss Bai's special student. It was only a hobby that he was here to listen to the class. Xiaolong looked at Linny and Xinyan, a dark look in his eyes. He didn't know how his brother, Kong Mingming, was doing in the Sky Elixir sect, and what position he had. Seeing his fiancée get intimate with another guy every day pissed him off. Kong bro, why don't you give your brother a call and ask him how he's doing? Panhu Wright suggested, noticing Xiaolong's displeasure. I'd like to, but I don't have the guts to ask. You know that House Kong isn't even a normal noble house. How could we talk to an ancient sect? Xiaolong smiled bitterly. When Kong Mingming left, he communicated with us through your hidden house you. If we go to the Sky Elixir sect directly, they might not even respond to us, and even if they did, we wouldn't know their contact details. I can give you their contact details, but you're right. Panhu right nodded. Alright, I'll go ask around for you today. Thank you very much. Xiaolong said gratefully. Xinyan didn't wake up until the afternoon nap. She rubbed her sleepy eyes and looked at the time on her phone. She jumped. It's already noon? I've been sleeping all this time? Yeah, you looked really tired, so I didn't want to disturb you. Linny smiled as he pushed a box of food in front of Xinyan. I bought this from the cafeteria. Hurry up and eat it, it's getting cold. There's also breakfast here. If it's not enough, you can have some. With that, Linny took out the breakfast he prepared this morning. He saw that Xinyan hadn't woken up yet, so he asked Bai Weitua to buy 2 boxes of food. He ate in the classroom as well. I'll eat your breakfast. I like your food. Xinyan took the breakfast Linny made, a little embarrassed. Linny's food was much better than the ones in the cafeteria. She'd been living in Linny's villa for a while now, and she'd become a bit picky. Normal food didn't taste good anymore. Haha, it's up to you. Linny smiled. In the afternoon, Xinyan was in good spirits. Although she still yawned, she was much better than in the morning. After a whole day of classes, she went back with Linny at night. Coiling Tiger Right, on the other hand, discussed with his uncle and grandpa about Xiaolong. Coiling Tiger, it's best if we don't mess with that Linny. Him hitting on Xiaolong's wife has nothing to do with us. We shouldn't interfere, right? Right? Zhentian thought for a while and gave his opinion. You're right, but Kong Mingming is the disciple of the Tiandan sect's 5th elder. If he inherits the elder's position in the future, it'll be like a dog ascending to the heavens. No matter how strong Linny is, he won't be as strong as the Tiandan sect. He won't be able to compete with them, right? Right? Coiling Tiger thought about it a lot, so he agreed to Xiaolong's request. Zhentian and Coiling Tiger are both right, Oldyu said. However, if we call the Tiandan sect secretly, Linny won't know. It's just a small effort. Coiling Tiger, don't go against Linny on the surface. If Xiaolong wants to go against you, just watch. You can attack him behind his back, but don't let him get anything on the surface. Oldyu thought more. He already knew what happened to the hidden house Yu. On the hidden level, Zhao Qibing's kidnapping of Yu Ning wasn't a secret anymore. Linny was able to walk out of the hidden house Yu unscathed, which proved the hidden house Yu's attitude. If the hidden house Yu couldn't do anything to Linny, then what did the hidden house Yu have to go against Linny? I understand. Right? Coiling Tiger nodded. He knew that Linny couldn't be messed with. As a result, he kept a low profile in school. Even though he knew that Han Jingjing had the notes, he didn't dare to take it from her. What if Linny found out and killed him? He wouldn't be able to do anything about it. Chapter 27:27, Refining the Bone Cleansing Pill. I'll call the young master of the Tiandan sect now, Oldyu said. Right? Coiling Tiger and Right Zhentian didn't dare to speak. They waited quietly and watched Oldyu respectfully call the young master of the Tiandan sect, Silkworm Transformation. Although Silkworm Transformation wasn't that old and was about the same age as Right Coiling Tiger, he was the young master of the Tiandan sect. He had a high status and Oldyu couldn't compare to him. Hello, I'm the old master of the hidden house Yu. May I ask if the young master is here? Oldyu said respectfully to the person on the phone. He didn't expect Silkworm Transformation to answer the phone personally. Oh, it's Master Yu. The young master isn't here. What's the matter? The woman on the phone asked. Oh, when will the young master be free? Should I call again? Oldyu heard that Silkworm Transformation wasn't here, so he asked. Our young master has been practicing in seclusion recently. He's preparing for a big event. He can't answer your phone for a while. If you have anything, you can tell me, said the woman. I see. Oldyu felt a little strange. What was Silkworm Transformation preparing for? But he didn't dare to ask, so he said, It's like this. Isn't Kong Mingming from the Kong family accepted as a disciple by the 5th elder? Now the Kong family wants to know how Kong Mingming is doing recently, so they asked me to help them find out. Oh, that's it. I'll ask Kong Mingming to call you back later. said the woman lightly. She was the personal maid of silkworm transformation. Her status in the Tiandan sect was naturally not ordinary, so she didn't have much respect for the disciple of the fifth elder. Okay, thank you, Old Yu said with a sigh of relief. Kong Xiaoming was nervously refining the pellet. Success or failure depended on this. This was his second time refining the bone and marrow cleansing pellet. He failed the first time, so he had to succeed the second time. Because there wasn't much time left for silkworm transformation, he had to go all out. Kong Mingming knew that his status and strength today were given to him by silkworm transformation. Once he couldn't refine the bone and marrow cleansing pill, silkworm transformation naturally wouldn't value him so much, and he wouldn't be able to stand firm in the Tiandan sect. If Lin Yi were here, he would be very surprised because Kong Mingming was now a heaven stage master, a Huang level 3 alchemist. This speed of advancement was simply like a rocket. Of course, in order to build up Kong Mingming, the heavenly elixir sect gave him soul gathering pill, small qi gathering pill, medium qi gathering pill and qi gathering pill. Kong Mingming's strength could be said to have soared all the way. Very soon, he became a heaven stage master and a Huang level 3 alchemist. The qi gathering pill was refined by the Xianzhen Grand Elder. Otherwise, with the heavenly elixir sects, heaven stage and Mandiran, the success rate wouldn't be so high, and he wouldn't have had time to give it to Kong Mingming. Kong Mingming received such care. It showed how important the bone and marrow cleansing pill was to the heavenly elixir sect, or the 5 elements sect. In the secret room sat Kong Mingming. His forehead was full of sweat as he condensed the alchemic fire to refine the bone and marrow cleansing pill. Beside him sat the heavenly elixir sects, 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 5 elements sect. The Xianzhen Grand Elder personally sat here to supervise Kong Mingming's alchemy. One could imagine the importance of this alchemy mission. Slowly increase the temperature. Increase the intensity of the fire. The Xianzhen Grand Elder ordered Kong Mingming. Kong Mingming carefully followed the instructions. Stabilize the temperature. Continue to increase the intensity of the fire. The Xianzhen Grand Elder continued to order. Kong Mingming continued to follow the instructions. The heavenly silkworm transformations maid couldn't find Kong Mingming. She only saw the 5th elder, so she passed the elder Yu's call to the 5th elder. I know, but Kong Mingming is now doing something big. Once it's done, he might be able to communicate with the outside world without any hindrance. The 5th elder was a little relieved and a little emotional at the same time. If his disciple successfully refined the bone and marrow cleansing pill, he would become the 8th elder of the heavenly elixir sect. Although his position wouldn't be as high as the 5th elder, he would still be an elder. This was his disciple, of course. The 5th elder was happy. However, thinking back, how much effort did he put in to become an elder of the heavenly elixir sect? However, Kong Mingming was lucky. Not only did he have someone to assist him in leveling up, but he also refined a pill. This allowed him to stabilize his position as the 8th elder. How lucky was this? Alright. The heavenly silkworm transformations maid nodded and left respectfully. She didn't really respect Kong Mingming, but she was very polite to the 5th elder. In the heavenly elixir sect, the status of an elder was very high. Other than the heavenly silkworm transformation, they had the highest status. As for the 5th elder, his eyes were fixed on the door of the secret room, and he was extremely nervous. Alright, slowly retract the fire. The Xianzhen Grand Elder shouted and said excitedly. Yes. Kong Mingming also felt that the pill was completed, so he quickly began to retract the fire. When Kong Mingming finished retracting the fire, the celestial being didn't care about the heat and directly opened the lid of the medicine cauldron. Instantly, the room was filled with a fragrant aroma. The bone and marrow cleansing pill was successfully refined. Kong Mingming wiped the sweat off his forehead and revealed a proud smile. He had been waiting for this moment. He finally succeeded. He was going to become the 8th elder of the heavenly elixir sect. Whatever Lin Yi, whatever Kong Xiaobo, they were all trash. No matter how strong Lin Yi was, he was just jumping around in the aristocratic families. Would he dare to go against the ancient families? What was there to be afraid of if even the hidden families didn't dare to provoke them? The pitiful Kong Mingming still didn't know about Lin Yi's achievements. He still didn't know that the hidden families didn't dare to provoke Linny anymore. He still thought that Linny was the same as before he left. Very good. It's just that the quality is a bit lacking. The Xianzhen Grand Elder looked at the bone and marrow cleansing pill in his hand excitedly, and then swallowed it. This scene stunned Kong Mingming and the celestial being. This bone and marrow cleansing pill wasn't for him to consume. Didn't it have other uses? Why was it swallowed by the Xianzhen Grand Elder? The Xianzhen Grand Elder looked at the two dumbfounded people in front of him and smiled. After I consume it, I can continue refining. Although Zhao Ming can also refine it, his skills aren't as good as mine. After I consume it, I can refine a better quality bone and marrow cleansing pill. Oh, the celestial being nodded. He was shocked and thought that the Xianzhen Grand Elder had suddenly changed his mind. Chapter 27:18. After all, in order to raise Kong Mingming, both the Sky Elixir sect and Five Elements sect had put in a lot of effort. This time Elder Xuanzhen had concocted 2 third-level qi gathering pills consecutively, using up a lot of his qi and stamina. Normally speaking, he wouldn't be able to concoct any more pills for at least half a year, but after using large amounts of treasured herbs, he was able to recover. The Sky Elixir sect even took out the long-lost Mit Qi gathering pill for Kong Mingming to use. Every ancient sect had some of this in stock, but not many of them. Since the recipe was lost, they couldn't make it, and every pill they used was one less. Unless it was absolutely necessary, they wouldn't use it. They hadn't even used the Sky Silkworm transformation before, and now that they were giving it to Kong Mingming, it was enough to show just how important this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was. Of course, what they didn't know was that this pill of life extension and toxin cleansing was a recipe Lin Yi had created based on Zhang Liju's notes. Not only did it increase the difficulty of the concoction, but there was also a flaw in it. But even Elder Xuanzhen couldn't see the flaw in it. Unless Bai Boss went there himself, perhaps he would be able to see the flaw. The only ones left were Lin Yi and the missing Zhang Liju. But if Lin Yi knew about Kong Mingming's situation, perhaps he would also sigh. Nowadays, having a good master and a good sect was more important than anything else. He could become a sky class just by eating elixirs. Although he was just an elixir refiner with no strength like a pig on steroids, he was still a sky class. Especially the fire pill, which allowed Kong Mingming to have the fire element, allowing him to become a fire and wood elixir refiner. Since he only had 2 elements in his body, there wouldn't be any conflict, and there was no need for them to circular. It was fine as long as they were used. With the guidance of Elder Xianzhen, it would be a piece of cake for him to become a 3rd-grade alchemist. Now that Kong Mingming had become the 8th elder, his status in the Heavenly Elixir sect had improved a lot. Many of the original restrictions were removed. The Heavenly Elixir sect held an elder conferring ceremony, and Kong Mingming officially became an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect. The maid who had been transformed by the Heavenly Silkworm came to Kong Mingming again. However, this time her attitude was much better. She respectfully took him to make a phone call. Kong Mingming first dialed the number of the Hidden Right family, but his attitude was not as respectful. "Hello? Is this Patriarch you?" Kong Mingming said to the other side of the phone. "Yes, it's me." "You are?" The phone call was from the Heavenly Elixir sect, and the tone was so rude. Old Master Yu subconsciously thought that it was a big shot in the Heavenly Elixir sect, so his tone became very respectful. "I'm Kong Mingming," Kong Mingming said faintly. "Patriarch Yu, why are you looking for me?" Kong Mingming. When Old Master Yu heard that the other party was Kong Mingming, he was a little annoyed. He thought, what's wrong with Kong Mingming? After going to the Heavenly Elixir sect for a few days, he doesn't know what's going on? He actually uses this tone to talk to me? This young man is really impetuous. He doesn't use you to me but only you, which made Old Master Yu very uncomfortable. However, it was no wonder that Old Master Yu didn't think much about it. It was because the previous Heavenly Silkworm transformed maid wasn't very enthusiastic about Kong Mingming's tone and attitude. She had a kind of indifferent attitude, so Old Master Yu simply didn't think that Kong Mingming could be so powerful now. "It's me. Do you have anything?" Kong Mingming wanted to call his family, but he heard from the Heavenly Silkworm transformed maid that Old Master Yu of the Hidden Family was looking for him. Out of gratitude for introducing him, Kong Mingming called him back first. However, He didn't expect old Master Yu to hesitate for a long time. He didn't say what the matter was, so Kong Ming was a little impatient. Your big brother Kong Xiaolong, he can't call you. So he asked me to ask about your recent situation. Old Master Yu held back his anger and said to Kong Ming, how are you recently? Oh, why can't he call me? Kong Ming snorted coldly and said fiercely, you tell him to call Heavenly Elixir Sect directly and find the 8th Elder. He can find me at any time. Find the 8th Elder? Old Master Yu was stunned. He thought, isn't Kong Ming's master the 5th Elder? Moreover, there are only 7 elders in Heavenly Elixir Sect. Where did the 8th Elder come from? Yes, I am the 8th Elder. Kong Ming said. What? You are the 8th Elder? Old Master Yu listened to Kong Ming's words, and he couldn't wrap his head around it. Kong Ming became the 8th Elder of Heavenly Elixir Sect? Nonsense, is it interesting to pretend to be an elder? Kong Ming snorted. I pretend to be an elder casually. Am I not afraid of being punished? Ah, I'm sorry, I've seen the 8th Elder. Old Master Yu was shocked. It seemed that Kong Ming's big thing was done. He was promoted to the 8th Elder of Heavenly Elixir Sect. No wonder his tone was so rude. It turned out that his position was there. Therefore, Old Master Yu quickly apologized carefully. The Elder of Heavenly Elixir Sect had a respected position. He couldn't offend him. At this moment, Old Master Yu adjusted his mentality. He knew that Kong Ming's family was no longer the Kong family of the past. When a man achieved success, his chickens and dogs would rise to heaven. Pan Hu really guessed it right. It's okay. Is there anything else? Asked Kong Ming. No, the 8th Elder, do you have any instructions? Old Master Yu said in fear and trepidation. No, I have to call my elder brother. Kong Ming said. Okay, please. Old Master Yu heard the sound of the other party hanging up the phone. He wiped the cold sweat on his forehead. He was scared to death. I almost offended Kong Ming. Who would have thought that this kid was so powerful? He suddenly became an elder of Heavenly Elixir Sect? Grandpa, Kong Ming really became an elder of Heavenly Elixir Sect? Old Master Yu's phone call was made in front of Pan Hu and Yu Zhentian, so the two of them also heard the contents of the phone call. Pan Hu asked in shock. Yes, he really did it. He wouldn't dare to lie. Old Master Yu sighed and said, Pan Hu, you're really far-sighted. You've always had a good relationship with Kong Xiaolong. Otherwise, our hidden house of you would be in trouble this time. Yu Zhentian's face darkened. He didn't speak. He almost made a wrong decision just now. If he offended the Kong family, it was equivalent to offending Kong Ming. The hidden house of you would be in danger. Grandpa, then in the future? Pan Hu asked quickly. Chapter 27:19. But we can respect Xiaolong. We can't mess with the Heavenly Elixir Sect, but we can't mess with Lin either. Elder Yu was calmer. Don't offend Lin Yi just to please Xiaolong. Otherwise, it'll be hard for us if Lin Yi comes knocking on our door. I know. Don't worry, Grandpa. I won't mess with Lin Yi directly. Yu Coiling Tiger hurriedly promised. Actually, he wouldn't dare provoke Lin Yi head-on. He was afraid that Lin Yi would beat him up. Kong Xiaoming's heart was filled with pride. He thought about all the things that had happened since he came to Sky Elixir Sect. It felt like a lifetime had passed. He was now standing in the middle of the top few in a sect. From a good-for-nothing playboy, he had become an elder of an ancient sect. Looking back on the past, Kong Ming realized that the head of House Kong was nothing. House Kong wasn't even a normal noble house in the past. He actually wanted to fight for the head of House Kong. Now this position was nothing in Kong Ming's eyes. The hatred he had for his brother Xiaolong disappeared without a trace. A person stood at a different height, had a different perspective, and looked at things differently. The current Kong Ming was no longer the Kong Ming of the past. He hoped that his brother could make House Kong stronger and stronger. He couldn't give up the elder position of Heavenly Elixir Sect and return to House Kong. So Kong Ming could only try his best to support his brother Xiaolong. With mixed feelings, Kong Ming dialed his grandpa's room number. Hello, I'm Kong Lai Kai. Dr. Kong picked up the phone. House Kong had been keeping a low profile recently. Although they had the support of the hidden house U, House Kong wasn't even a noble house. Although they were helping the hidden house U sell some low-end elixirs, Kong Lai Kai wasn't as tough as he used to be after losing the title of Miracle Doctor. Grandpa, it's me, Xiaoming. It had been a long time since Kong Ming heard his grandfather's voice again, so he was very excited. Thinking of how the Kong family had to beg for the title of an aristocratic family, and how their medical company was ruined by Lin Yi, Kong Ming was filled with emotions. Illumination. Dr. Kong was also taken aback. He quickly asked, Xiaoming, how are you? It's been such a long time. Did you suffer in the Heavenly Elixir sect? Of course I suffered a lot. Kong Ming recalled his time in the Heavenly Elixir sect. Felt like a lifetime ago. The pain wasn't something an ordinary person could endure. Just taking elixirs to break through was enough to make him suffer. And then there was the devilish training day and night. It was true that a great teacher produces a great disciple, but if Kong Ming hadn't been trained like a dog, he wouldn't have his current strength. It could be said that before Kong Xiaoming had succeeded, neither the Five Elements sect nor the Heavenly Elixir sect had treated him as a person, but as a tool to be used. Now that the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing had been refined, Kong Xiaoming finally had the status he deserved. Sigh. Dr. Kong sighed. Our Kong family is small. Not even an aristocratic family. Compared to the ancient sects, it's like heaven and earth. Grandson, you've suffered. Grandpa can't help you get out of this suffering. Our only backing is the hidden house of you, but even the hidden house of you can't help us say these things. Haha, Grandpa, don't say that. Your grandson's suffering is over. Our Kong family's glory days are here. Kong Ming laughed. What aristocratic family? What hidden aristocratic family? If I say the Kong family is the hidden Kong family, then it is the hidden Kong family. Who dares to say otherwise? Ah! Dr. Kong was a little dumbfounded after hearing Kong Ming's words. Grandson Xiaoming, have you become stupid from exhaustion? Are you talking nonsense? Grandpa, you still don't know, right? I've already helped the Heavenly Elixir sect complete that big thing. I'm now the 8th elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, one of the most powerful people in the sect. Kong Ming said. What? You've become the elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect? Is that true? Dr. Kong didn't believe it. Moreover, you don't have the corresponding strength. Can you sit in that position? Of course it's true. Kong Ming said. Strength? Your grandson I is now a heaven stage master. A 3rd-level alchemist of the yellow class. I'm at the top of the alchemists. Even the old master Yu of the hidden Yu family has to bow down to me. You're already a heaven stage master, and a 3rd-level alchemist of the yellow class? Dr. Kang's heart almost exploded after hearing Kong Ming's words. How is it possible? How could Kong Ming be so powerful? Of course, although I don't know why the Heavenly Elixir sect needs the bone and marrow cleansing pill, in order to cultivate me to refine this pill, they spent all their resources on me. I dare say that even the young master of the Heavenly Elixir sect doesn't have such preferential treatment. How can I not be powerful? Kong Ming said proudly. Oh my God. Dr. Kong was shocked, but after the shock, he believed Kong Ming's words. He raised his head and shouted to the sky. Ha ha ha, my Kong family is finally going to rise again. Of course, Grandpa. Don't be afraid. As long as I'm here, the Kong family will definitely be glorious. Kong Ming said. I'm a heaven stage master. My lifespan is very long. It's enough to protect the Kong family for more than 100 years. Don't worry and develop the family's scale. Good. I'll announce that you're the next master of the Kong family in a while. Dr. Kong said excitedly. Hee Grandpa, leave the position of master to my brother. I'll be an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, so I won't be able to return to the Kong family. However, I'll always be the guardian of the Kong family. Kong Ming said arrogantly. However, Dr. Kong didn't think that Kong Ming was bragging. He had the ability and capability. A family with a heaven stage master could definitely become a hidden house. This heaven stage master was also an elder of the Heavenly Elixir sect, one of the biggest ancient sections. This made this hidden house have an ancient background. Although the hidden house you also had the Heavenly Elixir sect's background, it wasn't as close as Kong Ming's background. After all, Kong Mingming would definitely lean towards his own family. I understand, Xiaoming. You're the pride of the Kong family. Dr. Kong let out a long breath. I'll inform Kong Guifeng, Kong Xuepu, and Kong Xiaolong to come back and share this good news. Chapter 27:20. Alright, I got it. Dr. Kong hung up excitedly. Today was destined to be a day of celebration for House Kong. Other than Dr. Kong, Xiaolong was also the most excited. He'd been holding it in for too long, watching Linny flirt with his fiancée right in front of him. It was a huge humiliation. But in the past, Xiaolong had to hold it in so he wouldn't piss Linny off. When he couldn't hold it in anymore, he'd look at the Ninja Turtle and hold it in. But now Xiaolong didn't have to hold it in anymore. He could finally fight back, go against Linny and pursue Wang Xinyan. He had someone to rely on. Xiaolong knew very well that Linny wouldn't dare kill him in Boss Bai's class, but he was afraid that Linny would play dirty. But after what happened with Pinliang, Xiaolong realized a problem. Linny wouldn't really kill Pinliang. Even if Pinliang wasn't Boss Bai's student, he wouldn't dare. At the end of the day, it was because Pinliang had an ancient background. If he wasn't a disciple of the everyday sect, would Linny even be afraid of him? So now that Xiaolong had an ancient background and a younger brother who was an elder of the Sky Elixir sect, he didn't believe that Linny would dare kill him. At the very least, when it came to fighting Linny for Wang Xinyan, as long as he didn't go overboard, Linny wouldn't be able to do anything to him. Although Dr. Kong said that Kong Mingming was an elder of the Sky Elixir sect, Xiaolong wasn't that stupid when it came to Linny. Linny wasn't someone who could be judged by common sense. If you didn't cross his bottom line, he might not do anything to you because of your background, but if you crossed his bottom line, he wouldn't care who you were, he'd kill you first. And so, while House Kong was discussing their future plans, Xiaolong was also plotting how he was going to pursue Wang Xinyan. At the very least, he wanted to surpass Linny in this matter, and get rid of the hatred in his heart. In the beginning, Xiaolong didn't have any feelings for Wang Xinyan. The marriage was only beneficial to House Kang's development, but as time went on, especially with Linny joining the family, Xiaolong subconsciously treated Wang Xinyan as his exclusive property. He wouldn't allow anyone else to touch her. Seeing how close Linny was to Wang Xinyan every day, Xiaolong was filled with anger and discomfort. Now that he had the chance to turn things around, he wouldn't let it go. This had become a twisted mentality that he had been suppressing for a long time. Even if House Kong was powerful now, he didn't want to break off the engagement with Wang Xinyan. If he did, wouldn't that prove that he was afraid of Linny? It was true that he was afraid of Linny, but now that he had Kong Mingming, an elder of the Sky Elixir sect, backing him up, what did he have to be afraid of? The next morning, Linny woke up. Wang Xinyan was still sound asleep, and Linny didn't wake her up. He ate breakfast with Mingyao, Yushu and Han Jingjing. After that, Linny didn't wake Wang Xinyan either. Instead, he took her to school. When they entered the classroom, Linny was still holding Wang Xinyan in his arms. This scene was witnessed by Xiaolong, who had just walked into the classroom in high spirits. Xiaolong was furious. How could he hold it in? Even if he didn't have Kong Mingming's support, Linny walking into the classroom with his fiancée in his arms was enough to make him go berserk. Linny, what are you doing? Let go of that lowly. Kong Mingming roared. Oh. Linny looked at Kong Mingming, confused. What are you talking about? Is there something wrong with you? Let go of Wang Xinyan. Kong Mingming had read a bunch of romance novels yesterday, trying to find a way to win Linny against Wang Xinyan. He'd read too much, and when he was walking, he was thinking about the plots in those novels. Suddenly, he saw Linny holding Wang Xinyan, and he said the wrong thing in his excitement. You really are crazy. Can't you see that she's asleep? Let go of her and she'll fall to the ground. Linny frowned, ignoring Xiaolong and walking into the classroom. Wait, I should be the one hugging her. Why are you hugging her? Xiaolong tried to stop Linny. Linny ignored him. Right, why is she asleep? How did you meet her? Where did the two of you go yesterday? Xiaolong suddenly realized that something was wrong. If Wang Xinyan was asleep, then it couldn't have been a coincidence at school, or she wouldn't be walking while sleeping. It had to be Linny carrying the sleeping Wang Xinyan to school. What had happened between them? Xiaolong felt like he'd been cheated on. Xiaolong's face was red. and his eyes were about to spit fire, but Lin Yi had already entered the classroom. He couldn't ask too many questions in front of the students, or he'd be the one embarrassed. As a result, Xiaolong could only follow Lin Yi into the classroom with a sullen look on his face. "Kong bro, what's wrong?" Pan Huyu saw the scene, but he didn't change his expression. "Lin Yi is too much." Xiaolong's face was green. "It seems like he really doesn't see me as Wang Xinyan's fiancé. This." Pan Hu right calculated in his heart. "I really can't help much with this, brother. The problem is that Lin Yi doesn't know your background right now, so naturally he won't put you in his eyes. If he knew your background, he'd probably be a little more cautious." "That's true." Xiaolong calmed down after listening to Right Coiling Tiger's words. Lin Yi's arrogance was probably because he didn't put House Kong in his eyes at all, but that was understandable. House Kong used to be like the sun was setting in the west, and it was normal for Lin Yi to look down on them. After all, he didn't even put the hidden House Yu Coiling Tiger in his eyes. Then what should I do? I can't just tell Lin Yi like an idiot that my brother is the 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect, can I? Well, it's not impossible. Pan Huyu thought about it. "After class, I'll go talk to Han Jingjing and see if I can get her notes. You can help her and tell her that your brother is the 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect. That way Lin Yi will hear it." "That's a good idea." Xiaolong agreed immediately. This way he'd indirectly tell Lin Yi about his background. Chapter 27-21. During the first class, Xinyan still hadn't woken up. Lin Yi still helped her take notes and didn't disturb her. But he was very puzzled. What was wrong with Xinyan? From Lin Yi's examination, Xinyan didn't seem to have any illness. She was just very weak, but Lin Yi had been making her potions every day. Why was it getting worse instead of getting better? Xiaolong had wanted to bring Pan Hu right to show off after class, but Xinyan hadn't woken up, and she wouldn't be able to see him. He had no choice but to push the idea aside and walk to Lin Yi's side. "What did you do to her last night? Why is she still sleeping?" Lin Yi looked at Xiaolong faintly. "She's sick, what can I do to her? Plus, I don't have to tell you what I did to her, do I? She's my fiancée, I have the right to know." Xiaolong said. "Oh, she's your fiancée? Aren't we not married yet? I can still say that she's my girlfriend," Lin Yi said. "You." Xiaolong suppressed his anger and turned to leave. He sneered in his heart. "Lin Yi, when Xinyan wakes up, you'll see how scared you are when you find out about my background. I'll let you be cocky for a while." It wasn't until noon that Xinyan woke up. Xiaolong and Pan Huyu bought lunchboxes to eat in the classroom in order to show off. Xiaolong didn't care about eating anymore when he saw Xinyan wake up. He stood up and strode towards Lin Yi and Xinyan. Lin Yi frowned when he saw the two walking over. What Lin Yi didn't expect was that Pan Hu right sat next to Han Jingjing, who was behind Lin Yi. Xiaolong, on the other hand, didn't bother Lin Yi and Xinyan. "Han Jingjing, how has your alchemy been recently? How about we exchange some pointers?" Pan Hu said to Han Jingjing, who was writing and drawing on the tablet. He looked at the tablet in Han Jingjing's hands and really wanted to snatch it away. "Oh!" Han Jingjing turned off the tablet and glanced at Tiger Yu. "Are you here to cheat me of my good information again?" Cough cough cough. Pan Huyu was choked by Han Jingjing's words. "What do you mean I'm here to cheat you of your good information again? It was clearly a crappy class notebook, but you cheated me of so much money at the auction." However, Right Coiling Tiger couldn't say anything. After all, the auction was voluntary, and no one forced him to buy anything from the auction. So if he lost money, he could only blame it on his bad luck. Right Coiling Tiger could only say, "How can you say it's cheating? We are just communicating. I just want to ask if you've encountered any difficulties when refining pills recently. Can you help me solve my problems?" Han Jingjing asked back. "Of course I can't, but I can find a powerful refiner to give you some pointers. That refiner is quite powerful," Right Coiling Tiger said. "Oh? Who is that?" Han Jingjing frowned. "You're not talking about your grandfather, are you?" "Of course not. My grandfather is only a second-level refiner. The one I'm talking about is a third-level refiner and a sky class at that," Right Coiling Tiger said in a tempting tone. "How about it? Do you want him to give you some pointers? Oh, then let him come." Han Jingjing said perfunctorily. That's an elder of the Sky Elixir sect. How can he come just like that? How about this? Give me your notes and I'll show it to him and let him give me some pointers. Just a few words and you'll benefit a lot. Right, Coiling Tiger said. You're cheating Jing's notes again. Who knows if there's such a person? Han Jingjing glared at Tiger Yu and didn't want to talk to him anymore. How can it be cheating? There really is such a person. Kong Xiaolong Bro can be a witness. If you don't believe me, ask Kong Bro. Right, Coiling Tiger winked at Xiaolong, indicating that it was his turn. Xiaolong had been waiting for a long time. He quickly said, of course, because that person is my younger brother, Kong Ming. He's currently the 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect, a Sky class and a 3rd level refiner. Oh, is that so? Han Jingjing said indifferently. When Xiaolong said this, he was paying attention to Lin Yi's expression and reaction. What made him depressed was that Lin Yi didn't seem to hear him at all. He continued to eat quietly, not showing any signs of discomfort. Of course, Lin Yi was only shocked on the surface. In fact, Lin Yi was extremely shocked. He never would have thought that a once ignorant and useless young master would become a Sky class and 3rd level refiner. This was too crazy, wasn't it? Although Lin Yi knew that a solo practitioner like him couldn't be compared to the disciples of the ancient sects, he didn't think that Kong Ming could go from a normal person to Sky class in such a short amount of time. Even faster than Zhang Naipeo? Lin Yi understood that a refiner's training speed was faster than a normal practitioner's, but at the same time their strength was also weaker than a normal practitioner's. But he still felt that it was unfair. Was he on drugs? How could his strength grow so fast? Even if Xiao was an inheritor, she wouldn't be as fast as him. However, this also meant that either Xiaolong was bragging, or the Sky Elixir sect was hiding their strength in the ancient sections. Not only was it one of the strongest sects in the ancient sects, but he had something else to rely on. But what Lin Yi didn't understand was, how did Kong Ming become the 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect? Why would the Sky Elixir sect put so much effort into training a useless young master like him? Even training Xiaolong would be better than him, right? All of a sudden, Lin Yi thought of a possibility. When Kong Xiaoming kidnapped Guan Xian, he'd asked for the recipe for the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing, but what Lin Yi had given him was the new recipe he'd created by combining the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing with Zhang Liju's original pill of bone cleansing. Back then, Lin Yi had set 2 small flaws in the recipe, one of which was that in order to make the new pill of bone cleansing, one had to have taken the pill of life extension and toxin cleansing or the pill of bone cleansing. Only those with a pure body constitution could successfully make it. Chapter 27-22. The Sky Elixir sect must have discovered this secret and trained Kong Ming to become a Sky class master and a Golden class 3rd level refiner. But this also meant that the Sky Elixir sect placed a lot of importance on Kong Ming. In other words, they placed a lot of importance on the bone cleansing pill. Otherwise, they wouldn't have trained Kong Ming like this. But what did they want the pill for? Lin Yi couldn't figure it out and decided to ask Boss Bai when he had the time. Thinking of this, it all made sense. House Kong, House Yu, and the Sky Elixir sect were working together, and the master who kidnapped Guan Xian was either from House Yu or the Sky Elixir sect. Xiaolong guessed that this was a show-off to Han Jingjing after he became strong. Xiaolong was disappointed when Lin Yi didn't respond. He wasn't sure if Lin Yi was afraid of the Sky Elixir sect or not. Why wasn't he reacting at all? Lin Yi was strong and he could kill a Sky class master in a second, but the Sky Elixir sect was a big place. He shouldn't be afraid, right? So? Han Jingjing, do you want his advice? Pan Hu didn't really care about Lin Yi's reaction. He only wanted Han Jingjing's notes. He wasn't interested in messing with Lin Yi anymore. Since House Yu couldn't afford to mess with them, then it was best not to. The 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect? Compared to mine, he's weak. I'm not interested, Han Jingjing said with a disinterested look. Yours? Who's yours? Right, Coiling Tiger's eyes lit up. He was moved and asked Han Jingjing. He had always wanted to find out Han Jingjing's master. Otherwise, how could Han Jingjing know alchemy? Mine? You don't know? Han Jingjing asked. Who is it? Can you tell me? Pan Hu asked eagerly. All right, since you're so sincere, I'll tell you, Han Jingjing said. Actually, Jingjing is the pill Saint Zhang Liju. What? You really got Zhang Liju's legacy? Panhu was shocked. Jingjing hasn't finished yet. Do you want to listen or not? If you don't want to listen, then forget it. Han Jingjing was very unhappy about being interrupted by Right Coiling Tiger. Then continue. Right Coiling Tiger said. Mine belongs to the pill Saint Zhang Liju, the strongest refiner in the world, Elder Xiantan. Han Jingjing said. Oh. Right Coiling Tiger was speechless after listening. Are you talking about Boss Bai? Don't you know? Han Jingjing glared at Tiger Yu unhappily. Are you playing with Jingjing? If there's nothing else, let's go. Jingjing has to study. This alright. Right Coiling Tiger didn't know how high the sky was, but he couldn't say that Kong Ming was stronger than Boss Bai. Even if Boss Bai's meridians were all destroyed, he was still stronger than Kong Ming. Xiaolong was a bit troubled as well. He'd wanted to scare Linny a bit, but it seemed like Linny wasn't affected at all. He didn't care at all. Xin Yan was in front, and she heard Xiaolong's words. The news of Kong Ming becoming a sky class, the 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect, hit her chest like a hammer. She couldn't breathe. How could Kong Ming be so lucky? He had already surpassed Linny and became a sky class? And he had such a high position in the Sky Elixir sect? All of this made Xin Yan feel as if the world was spinning around her. She had some hope, but now Linny seemed to have been left behind by his opponents again. Xin Yan sneaked a glance at Linny, wanting to say something. Don't be afraid, it's nothing. A sky-class refiner doesn't have much fighting power. Linny saw through Xin Yan's worry and comforted her. Let's eat. Yeah. Xin Yan didn't relax just yet. What Linny said made sense, but Xin Yan knew what it meant to be a 3rd-level golden class refiner, and how rare they were. Linny had always wanted Han Jingjing to become a golden class 3rd-level refiner, but she didn't succeed. Kong Ming did, and Kong Ming's position in the Sky Elixir sect was obvious. Although Kong Ming wasn't that strong, he had the Sky Elixir sect behind him. As a result, Xin Yan couldn't bring herself to be happy, but in order not to worry Linny, she decided to eat her lunch. The most confused were Xiaolong and Tiger Right. The two returned to their seats, and Xiaolong said unhappily, "Why doesn't Linny have any reaction?" "Kong bro, I think there are 3 possibilities." Right Coiling Tiger thought about it. First, Linny has other sources of information, so he knew about this a long time ago. That's why he wasn't shocked. Second, Linny doesn't care about this at all. Elder 8 is a sky class and a 3rd-level refiner. But with Lin Yi's strength, killing him in a second shouldn't be hard. Third, Linny is pretending to be calm, but from what I see, this possibility is very small. HM, you're right. My brother is a sky class, but Linny can kill sky class masters in a second, and his refiner is even weaker. This is probably why Linny doesn't care. Xiaolong thought through some things after hearing Tiger Right's words. He thought about Lin Yi's strength. Then what do we do? But both of them guessed wrongly. Lin Yi in their eyes was the most impossible third possibility. But it's fine. At least Lin Yi won't do anything to you. Elder 8 isn't as strong as Lin Yi, but he represents the Sky Elixir sect, and there are other masters in the sect. You just do what you need to do. Didn't you see that Lin Yi didn't do anything to us just now? Tiger Right analyzed. That's true. Xiaolong felt a little better. In the afternoon, during the White Boss's break, Lin Yi came to find him. Why are you in such a hurry? I haven't looked up Xin Yan's special condition yet. You'll have to wait. The White Boss thought that Lin Yi was here to ask him about Xin Yan, so he shrugged and said helplessly, Mr. Bai, you misunderstood. I'm here to ask you something else. Lin Yi waved his hand and pointed to an empty place. Shall we go there? Oh, okay. The White Boss nodded, but he was a little confused. What did Lin Yi want to ask him? Mr. Bai, it's like this. Have you heard of the pill? Lin Yi asked. Chapter 27-23. Of course I've heard of it. Moreover, our 5-element sect used to have this recipe, but we lost it later. Why are you suddenly asking about this? Speaking up to this point, Boss Bai suddenly had a look of realization. Oh, I know. Did you read some ancient books yourself and found out about the conditions for inheriting the virtual constitution? Question mark. Lin Yi was stunned when he heard Boss Bai's random words. What do you mean? Why is it related to my virtual constitution? Huh? You don't know? Boss Bai also looked at Lin Yi in confusion. Of course I don't know. Could this marrow and bone cleansing pill be related to inheritance? Lin Yi suddenly thought of something. That's right. Because the virtual constitution is obtained through external forces, it's not particularly pure. It exists in the body and has many flaws. The effect of the marrow and bone cleansing pill is to make the virtual constitution pure, thereby increasing the success rate of inheritance. Boss Bai nodded and said, for example, if two people with the virtual constitution accept the inheritance together, their chances are the same, and either of them can obtain the inheritance. However, if one of them takes the marrow and bone cleansing pill, then the one who takes the marrow and bone cleansing pill will definitely receive the inheritance. In other words, after taking the marrow and bone cleansing pill, one can definitely receive the inheritance? Lin Yi asked. That's not it. It just increases the success rate. Nothing is absolute and this can also fail. Boss Bai shook his head and said, I see. The Heavenly Elixir sect might be refining this marrow and bone cleansing pill. Lin Yi said. Heavenly Elixir sect? Maybe the 5 Elements sect needs it? Boss Bai frowned and said, Tagan Long was crippled by you. Maybe the 5 Elements sect is in a hurry to cultivate another replacement, so they're using the marrow and bone cleansing pill? That's not it either. It should be that before I crippled Tagan Long, they had already started searching for the recipe and were preparing to refine it. Lin Yi shook his head and denied this guess. Then maybe it's another plan that was prepared a long time ago. Boss Bai thought for a moment and said, Tagan Long is the light pawn in their plan. As far as I know, there should be a dark pawn. Maybe they never gave up on the dark pawn from the very beginning, and the light and the dark are synchronized. Even if something happens to one of them, it won't affect the entire plan. I see. Lin Yi nodded and guessed. In that case, their spy might also have a constitution of the 5 elements and 7 attributes, but there's a void attribute among them. It's possible, but I don't know the details. Xinshen wouldn't tell me, Boss Bai said. The bell for class rang and Lin Yi returned to his seat. He had basically asked all the questions he wanted to ask and he had gained something. At least he knew that if the Phantom Attribute wanted to receive the legacy, they needed to have a condition to increase the success rate. At night, after school, Lin Yi walked out of the classroom with Xinyan and Han Jingjing as usual, and then drove back to the villa with Meng Yao and the others. Because of what happened in the morning, Xiaolong was still holding a grudge against Lin Yi and Xinyan. After school, he didn't go back to the dorm or the Kangs, but followed Lin Yi and Xinyan to the parking lot. When he saw Xinyan get into Lin Yi's car, his eyes turned green with anger. As expected, there's a problem. Xiaolong pointed at Lin Yi's car, furious. He wanted to rush up and pull Xinyan out of the car, but his rationality told him that he would probably get beaten up. It was true that Lin Yi didn't dare to kill him, but he would definitely get beaten up. As long as he didn't die, it wouldn't be a big deal. After all, Pinliang didn't even have an advantage against Lin Yi before. Kong bro, calm down. Let's follow them and see. Pan Huyu stopped the car beside Xiaolong and opened the door. Alright, I'll go see where they're going. Xiaolong nodded and got in the car, and Pan Huyu followed Lin Yi. Xiaolong knew that he was alone, and that he would be at a disadvantage against Lin Yi. After getting in the car, he calmed down and took out his phone, recording the entire process of Lin Yi's car. Lin Yi noticed that Pan Huyu was following them, but he didn't bother with him. After all, a lot of people in the class knew where he lived, and it wasn't a secret. As long as he didn't do anything dangerous, Lin Yi wouldn't bother with him. The car stopped in front of Lin Yi's villa. Han Jingjing and Han Xiaoqiao went back to their own villa, while Lin Yi, Xinyan, Meng Yao, and Yushu entered Lin Yi's villa. This scene was recorded by Xiaolong, who was parked far away at the entrance of the district. Lin Yi, you're living with Xinyan? This is intolerable. Xiaolong was so angry that he wanted to smash the phone on the floor, but he held himself back. This was important evidence. He couldn't beat Lin Yi head-on, but he could think of other ways. Kong bro, don't be impulsive. Impulsiveness is the devil. Pan Huyu didn't want Xiaolong and Lin Yi to fight. It wouldn't do him any good. Let's go to the Xiao family. Xiaolong took a deep breath and said to Pan Huyu. After the marriage, the Xiao family and the Kong family moved to Donghai to help House Kong with their business. Especially now that House Kong was working for House Yu, The Xiao family could get a lot of benefits even if they just ran errands. As a result, the Xiao family was very close to the Kong family. Especially yesterday, when the news of Kong Mingming becoming the 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect spread. Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben of the Xiao family decided that they would follow House Kang's lead from now on. They had to stabilize the marriage. House Kong was getting stronger and stronger, and the Xiao family was already climbing up the social ladder. Without this marriage, it was hard to say if House Kong would continue to support the Xiao family. Xiaolong's sudden visit surprised Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben. After receiving the notification from the guard, the two brothers personally went to the entrance of the Xiao family's villa and respectfully invited Xiaolong and Pan Huyu into the villa. Master Kong, Master Yu, your visit brings light to our humble house. Xiao Ben smiled. Bro, let sis-in-law wash the fruits and pour some tea. No need. I can't eat and I can't drink. Xiaolong waved his hand coldly, his face dark. I'm here today to cancel the marriage. Chapter 27-24. Could it be that because Kong Mingming had become the 8th elder of the Sky Elixir sect, House Kong felt that the Xiao family was no longer worthy of a marriage alliance? Xiao Ben felt bitter at the thought, but he didn't dare to get angry. After all, House Kong was no longer something that the Xiao family could reach. They could only look up to them. Young Master Kong, what do you mean by this? Didn't we agree on the marriage between our two families? You can't cancel it just because your brother is rich now, can you? Xiao Ji was a straightforward person, and couldn't hold back his words. He wanted to die knowing the reason behind it. Xiao Ben thought to himself that his brother didn't know how to beat around the bush. Now that he had said it, there was no turning back. Wouldn't he have to cancel it even if he didn't want to? My brother is rich now? Xiaolong smiled coldly. Do you think House Kong would do something like that? We've already resolved the misunderstanding. Would we make the same mistake again? Then Xiao Ben realized that it wasn't because of Kong Mingming's rise to power and his ancient background that caused House Kong to abandon the Xiao family. It was because of something else. At the thought, Xiao Ben was grateful for his brother's bluntness. If he didn't say it, he wouldn't even know the reason behind it. Only by knowing the reason could he solve the problem. If he didn't know the reason, he wouldn't know why Xiaolong was so angry. Look at your phones yourselves. Xiaolong threw his phone in front of Xiao Ben with a humph. This. Xiao Ben picked up Xiaolong's phone. He didn't know what Xiaolong wanted him to see, so he asked curiously, "What do you want me to see?" "Look at the videos on the phone." Xiaolong humphed. Xiao Ben didn't know what was going on. He opened the video folder in Xiaolong's phone and played the first video. A woman's moans came from the phone. Xiao Ben and Xiao Ji looked at the video stunned. In the video, Xiaolong was on top of a woman moving up and down, and the woman was moaning crazily. This? Young Master Kong, you're showing us this. Are you saying that you've fallen in love with another woman and don't like our Xinyan anymore? Xiao Ben didn't understand why Xiaolong wanted him to watch this selfie video. He could only guess. Cough cough. Not this one, look at the last one. Xiaolong blushed. This was taken when he was looking for Miss, watching Lin Yi and Wang Xinyan kissing each other every day. Xiaolong couldn't vent his anger, so he vented it on Mississippi. The cameraman was Tiger Right, who liked to take selfies with his phone. Xiaolong didn't mind at the time, but now that Xiao Ben released it, he felt a little awkward. Ugh. Xiao Ben turned off the video and played the last one. In the video, Xiao Ben saw a car parked in front of a villa. The door opened and Xinyan and a group of people got out of the car and walked into the villa. Xiao Ben saw a few familiar faces in the group, and one of them was Xiao family's biggest enemy, Lin Yi. As for Lin Yi, Xiao Ji and Xiao Ben could only grit their teeth. House Xiao's backers, one after the other, went to Lin Yi's side. From the common house Wu to the hidden house Pai, it was the same. Lin Yi? This video is... Xiao Ben thought for a moment and asked carefully. This villa belongs to Lin Yi. After school, Lin Yi and Xinyan came back to this villa together. I don't need to explain what this means, do I? Xiaolong said with a cold smile. My fiancé is living with another man. What else can I do other than cancel the engagement? Xiaolong came here to make a scene so that he could save his face first. It was completely different whether he started it or not. If he started it first, the Xiao family would try their best to salvage the situation, But if he started it first, he'd look like he was screaming himself hoarse. There must be some kind of misunderstanding, Xiaobin said. This video shows a group of people going to the villa. Maybe they're there as guests or having a party. What party? A party? Xiaolong glared. That's Lin Yi's villa to begin with. Meng Yao and Yushu live there, and now Xinyan's in there as well. What's the point of having a party? Plus, I saw Xinyan being carried to school by Lin Yi this morning, and she slept the whole morning. Clearly, she didn't sleep at all. What did she do last night? Can you guess? Xiaobin was stunned, and his face was a little ugly. Although he had already determined something in his heart, he still said, "Young Master Kong, don't worry about this. Maybe it's a misunderstanding. Let me go and ask." "Alright, go get her. I'll wait here. I want to see if there's a misunderstanding or not." Xiaolong sat on the sofa in the living room with a cold smile. "Okay, young Master Kong, then you should take a rest first. I'll go find her and ask her about it," Xiaobin said as he walked into the room. Xiaolong humphed coldly as he watched Xiaobin leave. He knew that Xiaobin was trying to get Xinyan to confess, but he didn't care. If Xinyan and Lin Yi were really fine, then he'd continue to force the Xiao family to let Xinyan be with him. If there was something going on between Xinyan and Lin Yi, then he'd force Xinyan to be with him, but he'd dump her after he'd had enough of her. It was a way to humiliate Lin Yi. No matter what, Xiaolong had already thought of a plan on the way here. He wasn't afraid at all. After Xiaobin entered the room, he quickly called Xiao Qinlin. He was afraid that Wang Xinyan would ignore him and give him a hard time, so he could only contact Wang Xinyan through Xiao Qinlin. "Brother, what's up?" Xiao Qinlin asked after picking up the phone. Although her relationship with Xiao Ji and Xiaobin had improved, it was only on the surface. Xiao Ji and Xiaobin had forced Xinyan to marry Xiaolong, and Xiao Qinlin still held a grudge. "Qinlin, Xinyan's in trouble. She's in big trouble," Xiaobin threatened. "House Kong wants to destroy our Xiao family, and they won't let you and Wang Shubin go." Chapter 27-25. Wang Xinyan fooled around with another man and got caught by Xiaolong. Xiaobin said angrily, "Don't you know that House Kong is no longer the same as before? House Kang's Kong Mingming, Xiaolong's brother, is the 8th elder of the ancient sex sky elixir. It'd be a piece of cake for him to destroy us. Hurry and ask Xinyan what's going on. Bring her to Xiao family and explain everything." Xinyan. No way, right? Qinlin knew that Xinyan liked Lin Yi, but they'd talked about it before, and Xinyan said that she'd only be friends with Lin Yi. She'd marry Xiaolong after graduation, so Qinlin didn't believe it. There's a misunderstanding, right? Xinyan isn't that kind of girl. Man, I hope it's a misunderstanding too. So hurry and ask her what's going on and bring her here to explain to Xiaolong and calm him down, Xiaobin said. Xiaolong recorded it with his phone, and Xinyan did walk into Lin Yi's villa. In actuality, Xiaolong never said anything about destroying the Xiao family. Xiaobin didn't want to lose House Kong, so he made it up to scare Qinlin. Xiaolong only said that he wanted to cancel the engagement, but it'd be a huge loss to Xiao family. How could Xiaobin agree to that? "Okay, I'll ask Xinyan what's going on," Qinlin replied. Xiao Qinlin was successfully fooled. She hung up the call with Xiaobin and dialed Wang Xinyan's number. Xinyan had just returned to the villa after dinner, and was about to drink the medicine Lin Yi had prepared for her when her mother called. She stood up, confused, and turned to Lin Yi, Meng Yao, and Yushu. "My mom's on the phone, I'll go take it." "Okay, but don't wait too long. The medicine's going to get cold soon." Lin Yi nodded, not thinking too much about it. Xinyan nodded and walked into the bedroom to answer the phone. "Mom." "Xinyan, where are you?" Xiao Qinlin asked urgently. I'm... Xinyan wanted to say Lin Yi's house, but didn't want to. "I'm at a classmate's house." "Classmate? It's Lin Yi, right?" Xiao Qinlin's heart skipped a beat. What's wrong?" Xinyan could tell that her mother's tone was off. "Xinyan, you're really... What did you promise me? Didn't she say that she was going to marry Xiaolong after graduation? Why did he go to Lin Yi's house? You guys are living together?" Qinlin panicked at Xinyan's reply. "Did you know that Kong Xiaolong went to the Xiao family today and threatened your second uncle? He's going to destroy the Xiao family, your dad, and me." Ah. Xin Yan froze as well, her face turning pale. He went to the Xiao family to look for second uncle? That's right. Qinlin sighed. Xin Yan, tell Mom. Is there something between you and Lin? No, he and I are innocent, nothing happened between us. Xin Yan was starting to get scared as well, and she quickly said. She didn't have any sense of belonging to the Xiao family, so she didn't care if the Xiao family was destroyed or not. What she was worried about was the safety of her parents, as well as Lin Yi's safety. The Sky Elixir sect was a powerful sect, and if they sent out a Sky-class late-phase peak, they could destroy her and Lin Yi with a flick of their fingers. This was what she had been worried about all this time, so she restrained herself and didn't agree to be Lin Yi's girlfriend. She didn't do anything with Lin Yi either. Otherwise, how could Xin Yan be fine sleeping with Lin Yi every day? Really? Qinlin let out a breath of relief after hearing Xin Yan's words. Yes. Xin Yan said without hesitation. That's good. Qinlin was relieved. That's good. Xin Yan, I'll drive over to pick you up. Tell me the address and we'll go to the Xiao family and explain things to Kong Xiaolong. There's nothing going on, why would I explain things to him? Didn't we say that we'd only get married after graduation? Why is it so troublesome? Xin Yan frowned. She felt that this Kong Xiaolong was a little despicable, using all sorts of tricks to threaten her parents. There's nothing we can do, House Kong is very powerful right now. We have no choice but to go, Qinlin said helplessly. You don't want something to happen to your parents because of this misunderstanding, do you? Then, come to the entrance of the business district. I'll get ready. Xin Yan nodded at her mother's words. She couldn't give Kong Xiaolong an excuse to get angry over something like this, could she? All right, I'll be right there, Qinlin said. Xin Yan sighed after hanging up. She knew that she might not be able to stay in Lin Yi's villa anymore. If she did, Kong Xiaolong wouldn't let her off easily. She really didn't want to move away. She calmed herself down and walked out of the bedroom. Seeing that Lin Yi and the others weren't paying attention to her, Xin Yan pretended to be nonchalant. Yao, Lin Yi, my mom's here. She's at the entrance of the business district. I'll be back in a bit. Oh, go on then. Be careful, do you need me to send you? Lin Yi didn't think much of it. It's fine, it's not too late. I'll leave after drinking the medicine. Xin Yan picked up the medicine on the table and drank it all in one gulp. She waved goodbye to Lin Yi and the others and quickly left the villa. Qinlin rushed to the business district to pick up Xin Yan and rushed to Xiao family's villa. Xin Yan, why did you go to Lin Yi's house? Isn't that giving Xiaolong something to use against you? Qinlin said helplessly as she drove. Mom, I'm just there as a guest. Xin Yan whispered. Hey, you're Xiaolong's fiancé now. Don't you know how to avoid arousing suspicion? It'd be fine if it were any other time, but Xiaolong's in your class now. You're too close to Lin Yi. He won't be happy if he sees you. Qinlin advised. Since you're planning to marry Xiaolong after graduation, don't make him unhappy with these details. Otherwise, you'll fight with him after marriage. Chapter 27-26. If Lin Yi really couldn't reach that level, then she'd kill herself on the night of their wedding. Xiaolong wouldn't be able to vent his anger on anyone else if she died. Qinlin looked at Xin Yan, knowing that she was still against the idea of marrying Xiaolong. But time was pressing and she didn't say much. She'd deal with the current situation first. They arrived at the Xiao family's villa, and Qinlin brought Xin Yan into the living room to see Xiaolong sitting on the sofa with a pale face. Xin Yan, you're here. Hurry up and tell Xiaolong what's going on, all right? Xiaoben said as he gave Xin Yan a look, telling her not to piss Xiaolong off. What do you want me to say? Xin Yan glared at Xiaolong a little angered. She felt that it was embarrassing for him to keep this up. What do I want to say? Xiaolong's face softened when he saw Xin Yan. After all, he didn't really want to break off the engagement. He just wanted to scare the Xiao family, so his attitude towards Xin Yan was a lot better. You went to Lin Yi's house, and he carried you to school in the morning. What do you want to say? I went to play with Yao Yao and Shu, Xin Yan explained. She didn't want to, but she didn't want to go against Xiaolong. She didn't want her parents and Lin Yi to be threatened. Play with them? From what I know, they're not medicine majors and you didn't even know them in high school. How are you going to play with them if you don't know them? Xiaolong asked. I met them through Lin Yi. Xin Yan didn't hide it. She couldn't hide it. And Xiaolong would know even if she didn't say it. She told the truth. I met them and we got along quite well. I stayed with them. So you're saying that you and Linny don't have that kind of relationship? Xiaolong frowned. Of course not. Xinyan said. I said that I wouldn't do something like that if I married you after graduation. You can say whatever you want, but you don't have any proof. How about this? I can believe you if you want, but we have to test to see if you are a virgin. If you are, then I will believe what you said. Xiaolong said. This was why he was here. No matter what the Xiao family and Xinyan said, it wasn't as important as the actual test. How? Xinyan looked at Xiaolong cautiously. You're not going to tell me that you're going to do it yourself, are you? I. Xiaolong really did want to say that, but Xinyan was looking at him with disdain. He couldn't bring himself to say it. How is that possible? Do I look like such a dirty person to you? I mean, let's go to the hospital for a checkup. Why should I? Xinyan felt that Xiaolong's request was too much. She felt humiliated. Nothing, I just want to prove your innocence. Xiaolong said. I'll do the checkup with you before we get married. What's with the checkup now? Xinyan didn't want to agree to Xiaolong's unreasonable request. Qinlin talked to Xinyan. If she's really a virgin, we won't be afraid of the checkup. Master Kong will be relieved after the checkup. Xiaobin persuaded. Qinlin didn't have a choice. She pulled Xinyan to the side and whispered. Xinyan, tell me the truth. Are you still a virgin? Of course I am. Xinyan felt hurt. Why didn't her mother believe her anymore? If that's the case, then let's go for a checkup. Otherwise, this won't end so easily. Qinlin persuaded. All right, I agree. Xinyan clenched her teeth, tears falling uncontrollably. She felt wronged. Why did she have to marry Xiaolong? Why did he have to say whatever he wanted? Why was she so unlucky? Why did she become a sacrifice for her family? She was born into a Xiao family that didn't bring her much happiness or enjoyment, and yet she had to carry more pressure and burden than anyone else. Xinyan felt dizzy, angry, and tired. Her vision darkened and she fell to the ground. Xinyan, what's wrong? Qinlin paled at the sight of Xinyan fainting. Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin's expressions changed as well. They didn't care about Xinyan's life or death. They only cared about Xinyan's marriage and House Kang's support for the Xiao family. They couldn't allow anything to happen to Xinyan. Xiaolong froze as well. This Xinyan couldn't take a blow, could she? Why did she faint after a few sentences? Wasn't it just a checkup to see if she was a virgin? Was it necessary? Was she guilty? Get her to the hospital and check if she's a virgin, Xiaolong said, not forgetting to add on to his previous request. And so, Qinlin quickly carried Xinyan and carried her to the car outside the villa, heading straight to Donghai's first hospital. Xiaolong sat in Right Panhu's car and followed behind, followed by Xiao Ji and Xiao Bin's car. Donghai's first hospital had shares in both Wang Xubin and House Kang's shares. Both sides didn't have a lot of shares, but they were both hospitals they trusted, so Xiaolong wasn't worried about the hospital cheating. After all, this hospital was very legitimate, and with House Kang's shares, Wang Xubin wouldn't be able to influence the results of the checkup. Xinyan was given a full body checkup, and the result was that she wasn't sick. Her body was just weak and she fainted because she was short of breath. She didn't have any illness. As for whether she was a virgin or not, the checkup was also done. The result was that Xinyan was still a virgin. This result put Xiaolong at ease, and he stopped making a fuss. He still looked down on Linny a little. They were living in the same villa, and he really went to play with Meng Yao and Yushu. Did Linny really not get what he wanted? From the looks of it, the results of the checkup couldn't be fake. But Xinyan fainted all of a sudden, and Xiaolong was a little worried. When would she wake up? Xiaolong planned to apologize to Xinyan when she woke up. After all, the checkup showed that she was still a virgin. He really did wrong her. Chapter 27:27. If he succeeded, it would be the heaviest blow to Lin Yi. Xiaolong wasn't afraid of Lin Yi anymore, so he dared to go against Lin Yi face to face. At night, Lin Yi didn't see Xinyan come back. He was curious and called her, wanting to ask if she was coming back to sleep tonight. Lin Yi was about to hang up when a man's voice came from the other side of the phone. Lin Yi, why are you calling Xinyan? Xiaolong heard Xinyan's phone ringing. So he took it out from her backpack and saw that it was Linny calling. He was pissed. The test results showed that Xinyan was still a virgin, but Xiaolong felt that Linny had other intentions towards her. Xiaolong. Linny paused when he heard Xiaolong's voice. Why is it you? Where's Xinyan? Xinyan is with me, of course. We're sleeping together tonight. You don't have to worry about her. Xiaolong said coldly and hung up. Hello? Linny didn't think that Xiaolong would hang up without even giving him a chance to speak. But why was Xinyan with Xiaolong? Didn't she go out with her mother? Could it be that Xinyan went to find Xiaolong and lied to him that she was going to find her mother? Linny shook his head at the thought. Xinyan wasn't a girl who was good at lying, and there was no reason for her to lie to him. Could it be that Xiaolong kidnapped her? Otherwise, why would Xinyan's phone be in Xiaolong's hands? Linny dialed Xinyan's phone again, but it only rang twice before it was hung up. Xiaolong probably didn't want to answer Linny's call. Linny frowned. He wanted to call Xinyan's mother, Xiaoqin Lin, but remembered that Xinyan went out with her and was with Xiaolong right now. Would Madame Wang tell him about Xinyan's whereabouts if he called her? Linny had no choice but to call a number he hadn't called in a long time. The call connected, but the person on the other side was silent. Linny didn't speak, and neither did the person on the other side. Princess. Linny asked, testing the waters. Do you need something or to chat? Hacker Princess complained. If you need something, I'll hang up. If you want to chat, I'll chat with you for a bit. Ugh. Linny couldn't help but smile bitterly at the princess' words. He'd contacted her to locate Wang Xinyan, but the princess was clearly pissed at him. He'd contacted her once when he was looking for Guan Xian, but he hadn't contacted her since. It was no wonder she wasn't happy. Okay, heroing brother E, tell me, what do you need? Hacker Princess knew that Linny must have something important to talk to her about, so she didn't continue to throw a tantrum and asked directly. Help me locate a phone number, Linny said. The number is... Oh. The sound of typing came from Hacker Princess's side. After a while, Hacker Princess said, At Donghai City's first hospital. Hospital? Linny froze. Why was Xinyan at the hospital? It seemed that Kong Mingming's words couldn't be trusted. There must be something hidden here. Yeah. Hacker Princess said. It's fine if you don't believe me. Who said I don't believe you? Linny smiled bitterly. I believe you. It's been so many years since you came back to see me and Sister Seven. Hacker Princess's voice was a little bitter. Forget it, you go back to your work. Linny had his reasons as well. Ever since his Shifu left, he'd followed his Shifu's instructions. Other than learning from old Lin in West Star Mountain, he'd been training outside. He hadn't really rested all these years, and he hadn't really taken a break until this last mission. As a result, he hadn't gone back to Island X yet. The princess's words reminded him of his childhood. He had two followers in his training team, Xiaoqi and Hacker Princess. It seemed that he should find some time to go back and see them. It's fine. Go back to your work. Hacker Princess smiled as if she didn't care, but Linny could hear the hope and expectation in her tone. After a while, I will go back. Linny wouldn't make promises easily, but this time he gave a promise. For Hacker Princess, Linny didn't know what kind of attitude he should have when they met again. When he was young, Xiaoqi and the princess could be regarded as childhood sweethearts. Over the years, from the tone of Hacker Princess's phone call, Linny could feel that Hacker Princess had a good impression of him. However, this good impression might disappear after the two met. The feelings in his childhood became a permanent memory with the growth of age and the passage of time. In the past, Linny once thought that he would keep taking missions and doing missions in his life until one day, when he was old, he would adopt a child like old Lin and repeat his life. At this time, Linny also didn't want to face feelings the most, because he knew that his job could cost him his life at any time. Feelings were just a luxury for him. However, after coming to Songshan City, Linny's life trajectory changed. It didn't seem to be what he imagined. He gradually had his own life, so Linny accepted Yuning. And now, when he faced Hacker Princess again, Linny finally found that he could face her directly. However, he was worried that the feelings of childhood would no longer exist. When they meet again, they would become ordinary friends. Meeting is not as good as reminiscing. However, even so, this matter can't always be avoided. There must be an end. Childhood sweethearts can only stay in childhood memories. Ah! Hacker Princess was slightly stunned. She didn't expect Linny to say this. In the past, Linny never mentioned coming back. However, before Hacker Princess could say anything, Linny had already hung up. Linny was worried about Wang Xinyan's situation, so he didn't greet Hacker Princess. He said goodbye to Chu Mengyao and left the villa, rushing to the first hospital of Donghai City.